Hello, everybody. This is Brandon.
And this is Bane. I mean Jared.
I was gonna see how long it took for somebody to just break
It didn't take long.
It
didn't take long.
We should just go ahead and get it out of the way. This commentary will be more than 50% just Bane impressions.
But there's an important, real reason we're doing the commentary.
Yep.
Brandon and I have had a revelation. We believe that, of course, we all know that the Chris Nolan Batman films were a golden age of superhero movies.
Pretty much untouchable.
But there is one that is underappreciated, we believe, in terms of audience reception, and that is Dark Knight Rises.
Yes. I mean, well, let's go ahead and throw this out there. What do you think is the best one of the three?
I think the best one of the three. Ooh, that is so tough for me. I guess I would still go to the Dark Knight for how many revolutionary kind of ideas, the way that it put together crime drama and superhero movies. I think that really impacted me.
I think That Begins is still my favorite,
and that is a wise and astute choice.
I mean, because the euphoric feeling that I felt coming out of the theater after we watched Batman Begins back. Sadly, 13 years have passed.
Long time ago, man.
Almost 13 years now. We were but children at the time.
We were some of the only people to see Batman Begins in the theater.
I have my movie ticket somewhere. I will try to find it to take a picture. But we were there, man. We were there.
It was a big deal to us, and I felt probably even stronger euphoria coming out of Dark Knight. So it was truly a golden era. And Dark Knight Rises, unfortunately, its premiere was marred in tragedy.
Yeah,
we had the Aurora, Colorado shootings. And even Christian Bale recently in an interview mentioned that he wasn't able to watch Dark Knight Rises again because of the shootings. And, I totally understand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he went to the hospital and stuff. And honestly, it really made me feel, for a long time, I sort of, I don't know, I didn't think about Rises as much because I associated it with the horrors of that tragedy.
Well, on a more simplistic note, of course, this was the first one to come out sort of in the thick of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So even The Dark Knight came out at a time when we weren't overburdened by superhero movies, but this one, was sort of caught up in the in the new wave, right in the center of it. So
people have become more critical.
Exactly. Even though it was hugely successful, it made more money, worldwide. It was
But I can't imagine how much more successful it would have been was it not for the Colorado shootings.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Because, it was so unfair to the movie. And I challenge anyone in good taste to make some kind of comment about the opening weekend of Dark Knight Rises. How dare you even make any kind of comment on it, considering the unprecedented circumstances surrounding the
exactly.
movie.
And, of course, it's only money. I mean, if I could, if I could... snap my finger and this movie didn't make a penny and one of those people were alive still.
Oh, yeah. I'd trade it in an instant.
Yeah.
But that's the last time I think I want to even mention the shooting because I don't want to give the guy any kind of press or anything like that. And that's the last thing I want to do is turn him into a celebrity. But now that it's been what now? That was
5.5 years.
Yeah,
it'll be 6 years this summer.
Almost 6 years. And so here we are, and I think it's been long enough. We'll never forget what happened, of course, but I think now it's time that people actually dig out their Rises Blu-ray or DVD and actually, evaluate the movie apart from all the tragedy and all the hoopla about, whether it was better than The Dark Knight that surrounded the movie. I think it's time to evaluate the movie on its own merits.
Absolutely. And, it's time we're into this DC extended universe enough now that it's time to take a step back, and now that we see how that's sort of going off the rails, behind,
to put it mildly,
behind the scenes and arguably in front of the camera, for some people, it's a curiosity to go back and reevaluate where they were going. Of course. Many years ago, we did a video about the possibility of Bale just being Batman for their
and Nolan just having something to do with Justice League.
Probably something, if they could do it over again, they would have put much more consideration into.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I think you can't live your life on what ifs, and I don't think Nolan ever would have come back for anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Judging by Christian Bale's comments, it sort of sound like Warner Brothers wanted rid of him.
Yeah.
And they never even asked him because
I wouldn't think so. Well, at the time, it's funny because you look at Affleck now, but back then Bale was considered to be sort of a hot button, you know.
Right.
Everything with
Affleck is way more hot button than Bale.
And now look what they've got to deal with.
And once again, they're in a situation where they kind of want out of, a Batman because he's kind of giving them bad press.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next guy they pick is a little more squeaky clean.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Oh, it's untelling.
Let's...
during the course of this, it's crazy. During the course of these 3 films, you think, like, there were 2 actual attempts at starting more DC franchises. There was Superman Returns released between Begins and The Dark Knight, and then there was Green Lantern released between Dark Knight and Rises. And then there was a very nearly attempted Justice League film in that time period as well.
You can't tell me, and we've discussed this before, that they didn't make Man of Steel under the guise that it was supposed to happen in Nolan's Batman world.
Oh, of course.
I really do believe it was supposed to happen in Nolan's Batman world, and I think that's the whole reason. When Nolan was involved in Man of Steel, sort of, and I think that they were all like, yeah, it's definitely we're going to bring them together, and Christian Bale will be Batman and Justice League and all that. I do think that was an idea at one point, but something changed.
Well, they had certainly tooled it so that they could have their cake and eat it too. They wanted either option.
That's right.
At the time,
they left it wide open.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time to go through and kind of dissect these themes of Dark Knight Rises and have a little fun too. Watching the movie because there's some funny things about it too.
Yeah.
But I think
performances.
Dark Knight Rises. It's nobody's favorite of the trilogy, okay? There might be one guy out there or something, but really, it's nobody's favorite. But to evaluate a movie solely based on the idea that it's not as good, per se, as the other, couple or whatever, I don't think that's fair. And so I believe that we need to be a little more, we need to be a little more assertive in how we kind of break down the movie. So, what do you say we begin?
Absolutely.
Batman begins.
Well,
on this dark night.
For our convenience, we were watching the DVD copy. So I assume it's going to be the same timing no matter what if you got the Blu-ray. But we are paused right after we hit play, and you can sort of see the Warner Brothers lot in the background of the logo intro.
As long as you're right around the beginning of the Warner Brothers logo,
we won't get off track too far. So.
All right, guys.
And like I said, it's going to be half Bane impressions anyway. So, so enjoy. You're welcome.
So on 0, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Buildings are melting.
The Hans Zimmer music can never be underappreciated. It can never be appreciated enough.
Never be overappreciated. That's exactly what I was about to say. Nobody could do those hook intro little beats like Hans Zimmer did. There's a logo Warner Brothers probably wish they could have back.
Yep.
So Universal now does all the Legendary stuff.
Legendary's kind of their own thing now. They kind of look for financing partners, but I'm not sure if they're doing real well actually.
I don't think so. Well, I think it's all completely Chinese owned.
Yeah, it's a lot of Chinese investors.
They're doing the King Kong.
Now Sekebe is that Nolan's production company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which if you've not seen Dunkirk yet, definitely check it out. It's fantastic. And while you're seeing Dunkirk, see Darkest Tower. Speaking of Gary Oldman.
Out of all the bat symbols in the 3, that's the most subtle, but I like it a lot.
Me too, yeah.
And thematically, the ice crackings, like Bruce Wayne kind of coming back.
And, to me, it's one of those, that's why these films are so great, is because you can look at something and have 2 totally legitimate interpretations of it. To me, it's the finish on everything that they accomplished, cracking finally, like how the surface, is sort of ripped away. You see all the
they're CIA. Of course, anybody who knows your memes knows this is CIA. Of course, he's Littlefinger in Game of Thrones.
Oh
so.
Yeah.
This whole opening scene, of course, it was used, to promote the movie. I guess practically the whole opening scene was out there as an early promotion.
Yeah, I think the first 8 minutes.
But I never watched it. I wanted to go
they had done the same thing for The Dark Knight.
Right, I didn't watch that either. So Nolan always has some weird ideas about promoting movies, but I
tried very hard to avoid spoilers. with all these films.
Oh yeah, I was successful too. I never had any of the 3 spoiled for me.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that we never got spoiled on Begins.
Right.
Begins less because I was intentionally avoiding spoilers, but
Well, speaking of spoilers, we should go ahead and say that there's going to be full-on spoilers for the whole trilogy, including this movie. Let's hope that you're not watching this movie for the first time like this.
I sure hope not.
So just putting that out there, please. We're going to spoil everything.
Yeah, it's all cards on the table. When Begins was coming out, I didn't think it looked particularly interesting. I had seen Memento, and so I was aware of Nolan and everything.
Now, do you remember, Brandon, the whole controversy about how the audio quality sounded in the original opening that they released as a promotion?
Yeah, and
they couldn't make out Bane's voice.
Mm-hmm. Which they swore up and down that they didn't change, but then
they did.
Yeah, you can find some comparison clips.
They definitely ADR'd it or put it through some kind of computer algorithm.
Yeah, which I think that may be sort of a nomenclature problem where I think that there maybe was their interpretation was that people were asking them to change Bane's voice.
Yes.
And, you're always going
to be able to hear him.
Yeah.
Of course, they wanted to be able to hear him. But seriously, though, I don't know. I think Nolan sometimes has to be saved from his own eccentricities. I mean, sometimes he's a little, fringe, and they got to reel him in a little. And I think that was one of them. Like, come on, man. I think he made the comment of, well, you don't necessarily have to hear everything someone's saying in a movie. See, that bothers me a lot because I have to hear everything, or else I think I'm out of the loop. So. These are the soldiers from G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Perfectly so. It was supposed to come out that same summer, and got pushed back 10 months, just like New Mutants now here.
This was quite a daring feat. This whole thing, I just think it's
a lot of
incredible.
This was practically
it's real. That's the real thing. I mean, Nolan was in a very fortunate position because he'd made them this bank. And I guess that Warner Brothers was willing to let him do about whatever. Yeah,
well, he filmed how much of this more of this film was shot with an IMAX camera than had ever been done before.
Yeah, he filmed this whole sequence was an IMAX sequence. Of course, for a lot of folks, it was very disorienting seeing the aspect ratio switch around.
Yeah,
which, is kind of an issue, but.
That never bothered me too much about anything.
No.
After I had gotten so big into Samurai Jack, I was fine with the aspect ratio of anything changing. It could change every frame.
It's not only that this is brilliant in execution, but it's brilliant in boarding and planning. I mean, this whole thing is just, it's beautiful. I'm a Snyder guy. I like Zack Snyder, all right, and everything. And he's usually I really enjoyed his movies. But
is that Phil Collins in the body?
It does look like Phil Collins. But I know that Zack Snyder, probably couldn't film anything like this. It's not really his kind of thing.
No.
This is something that only Nolan could have done.
On film.
That's right.
Well, Nolan did things, and this isn't always good, but I almost have to stop just to hear the voice. Ooh, he said it. Nolan, I'm sure Chris Nolan and Jonah Nolan both probably had all these ideas about things they wanted to do in movies. And, something like this doesn't necessarily scream Batman, but they probably thought, well, here's our vehicle to do this scene that we think would be great.
That shot was an accomplishment, by the way. I just want to say that was incredible.
And it works here, unlike, say, a lot of what we get in the Michael Bay Transformers, where he's just wanting to do...
That's right. He's wanting to make a Michael Bay movie guest starring Transformers.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I can use Transformers as a vehicle.
And I like the first one, Dark of the Moon, real well, but man...
Yeah. On that, don't see Transformers 5.
But we're here tonight because it's
it's scenes like this that recall The Dark Knight that really makes you put yourself back in the shoes of Nolan back then, and to think what a daunting task it would have been to have followed up The Dark Knight. Widely regarded as the greatest superhero film. It was like the new Superman 2.
Yeah.
This city is without organized crime because the Dent Act gave law enforcement teeth in its...
There's that funny story that Aaron Eckhart told about asking Nolan if he was going to like be in the movie, and he met him on some beach somewhere randomly, and Nolan just looked at him and said no, and walked away.
No big to do. Just am I gonna be in it? No.
I think a lot of us were really hoping that Two-Face wasn't dead, but you know, if I could have chosen Two-Face or Bane for this movie, well, it's Bane all the way.
Yeah,
because I mean, look at what they did with him; it's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, if you don't know, the Dark Knight is more a conglomeration. I guess it was Goyer had envisioned 2 sequel films to Batman Begins.
Right. Well, honestly, those films both sort of got shoved into the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Kind of has both movies in it, I guess, because the first movie was about the Joker, and then at the end of it, the cliffhanger was he had burned Harvey Dent. Speak of the devil, he was just back there. And Gary Oldman is incredible in this movie. Let's just listen.
As always.
Maybe the time isn't right. Maybe right now, all you need to know is that there are 1,000 inmates in Blackgate Prison as a direct result of the Dent Act. These are violent criminals, essential cogs in the organized crime machine. Maybe for now, all I should say about the death of Harvey Dent is this. It has not been for nothing.
Ned Flanders, what?
It's a mighty mustache.
No, I was hoping he never lose these. You know, I heard he had an accident. Yeah, that he's disfigured.
I love how the woman says disfigured. I have a smaller role in this film, but here I am.
Although he gets his most emotional turn.
Well, he has his best stuff, I think, in this movie, even though he doesn't have as much screen time necessarily as the other two.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He doesn't get to say tangerine in this movie, but
Sorry, Miss Tate, I tried, but he won't see you.
You know, you mustn't take it personally. Everyone knows that
Mendelssohn's gone on to such great things since this too. So.
well, that's right.
I guess it was. I mean, I'm sure I've seen him in other things previously, but this is the first thing I remember him in. And
well, I think it was the first thing I had ever seen him in.
Later this year, he was in Killing Them Softly, where he plays just like a 180 character. So he's somebody He's in Darkest Hour with Oldman as well. He's terrific.
I think Nolan does a fine job right here at the beginning, using this party to set up all the principal players and also to remind absent-minded audience members about what happened in The Dark Knight.
Yeah. It's true. You know, you can watch any of these 3 films without having seen the others, really.
But this is the most
hardest
dependent.
one.
Yeah.
Because it's reliant in very different ways on 2 different movies.
spend some more time with the mayor. Oh, that's your department.
The Dark Knight isn't a true traditional sequel to Begins. And this film is a fairly standard sequel to both in many regards. It follows up plot threads pretty equally from the 2 previous movies, so that's a really neat way to structure a trilogy.
I was really glad to see that Matthew Modine was cast in this movie, by the way. Now, Modine has some goofy line readings later on in this movie, but I do like Modine in the movie. He's fine.
He had just recovered from the crippling emotional experience of Cutthroat Island.
It was safe to go back outside. Christian Bale.
Did you see 47 Meters Down? Is that what it was called? His shark movie that he did last year?
Oh, no, I didn't see it. They say it was really good, though.
Yeah.
Christian Bale has the ability to grow the radius looking like facial hair.
Yeah.
And it's used to great effect here.
He just looks like Dark Knight Returns Green Arrow.
Yeah, there you go. Wrong character, Chris.
Just chop off that arm.
You know, this is probably a good spot to talk about Anne Hathaway. What a surprise she was in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could not believe how great she was in this movie.
I was so opposed to her being
I was totally
in the
against
film. I mean, I would have been fine with her playing a Rachel Dawes type character, and
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
that's misogynistic, but it's just I would have never in a million years, picked her for Catwoman. So
That's
I was
right.
very critical of very critical of Nolan at the time.
I also want to compliment Zimmer for this incredible little piano beat that he has for Catwoman. Just a little melody, you know. Oh, that always gets a good laugh.
He really was handicapped.
Don't worry, he's got robot legs to fix that. It's fine. You know, it's funny. Anne Hathaway was almost Black Cat, or according to some people, Vultress.
Vultress, yeah.
The Vulture's daughter in Spider-Man 4, which did not happen, of course. Oh, that's her Catwoman costume. No, her Catwoman costume was actually pretty good in this movie. I gotta say.
Spider-Man 4 with Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, sure. yeah.
Miss Tate was asking to see you again.
It's you know, these films have become so ubiquitous. The crossover between different publishing, characters from different publishers and different universes has become so bizarre. You know, J. Jonah Jameson's now.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon, etc.
Perhaps you should start learning to make your own bed.
So, let's think. This happens how many years after The Dark Knight was again? Is it 5?
8 years, I think.
Okay. It's a longer time jump than that. All right. I knew it was quite a few years afterwards, and I do applaud the big time jump, by the way.
So bizarre. You know, this film, is in its own way sort of an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns.
It is, yeah.
And then Warner Brothers just immediately went back to doing The Dark Knight Returns again for their next Batman film.
Yeah.
Not that much longer, afterwards. 4 years, not even 4 years.
You know, what I think is that critics were so harsh on this film, but if they could have seen what was coming, they wouldn't have been.
Yeah, exactly.
People were spoiled, man, by The Dark Knight. Well, what do you think about our new John Blake character here? Do you like John Blake?
I like John Blake a lot.
Me
I think
too.
he's a great conglomerate.
And he was a point of contention for a lot of fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember by with the Red Letter Media review back. They were kind of relatively new at the time, but they kept calling him the character with Down syndrome.
What?
If you remember, yeah.
I'm not. There's one point of contention I have about what they did with the continuity in this movie. Just a little thing.
What's that?
And it's this idea that maybe the last time Bruce Wayne was Batman was The Dark Knight when we saw the end of the movie. Now, in one way, I rationalize it and I say, you know what? That's totally realistic because really
it would cause him to...
Yeah. I mean, after the damage he took, he wouldn't really be able to do it. But at the same time, as a Batman comics fan, it's kind of like, oh, don't say that. He should have... I always felt in my heart The Dark Knight, the ending was like, okay, and now he'll be Batman, and do this forever.
Well, and just from a practical standpoint, he has all this technology and this real Batcave and things that weren't around, obviously, in The Dark Knight. So was this stuff built and he never used it until now?
That's a great point.
I don't really think so.
I feel like it sends mixed messages.
Yeah.
Because they keep trying to imply that he just wasn't Batman at all. And yet he has all this stuff. I don't know. And then the bat, too. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
That's a significant piece of technology.
Yeah, which he sees for the first time in this movie. Or if you remember, Lucius gives it to him. He's never had it before. So I can explain away little things like that. But let's just say again, there's probably some very specific explanation for how it all, lays out, how it works time-wise. But I would imagine he was probably Batman for another brief period of time, until he was just unable to continue doing it. He was so disabled from his leg that he just stopped.
I did find someone.
I know, and you lost them, but that's all part of living, sir. But you're not living, you're just waiting, hoping for things to go bad again. Remember when you left Gotham? Before all this, before Batman? You were gone 7 years.
Michael Caine, you're a treasure.
He is.
Hoping that you wouldn't come back. Every year, I took a holiday.
It's Michael Caine came back with these films basically. He had done some pretty big projects.
His big comeback film was The Cider House Rules.
Yeah, of course.
But after that, this was
his mainstream. He's done all sorts.
Well, this is how he got
films.
checks. This movie,
exactly.
this gave him a lot of box office cred.
Maybe a couple of kids.
Now, I just, if people don't like this aspect of the movie, this whole thing about Alfred, I can't do anything for you. I'm sorry. To me, this is the music, the acting, everything, the dialogue comes together in these moments here and at the end of the film, and it's so powerful. There's something about what he's saying too. There's some real wisdom in the things Alfred's saying here. I know Alfred is funny, in the new movies and everything, and
that Tangerine, blah blah blah, but. and very relatable,
I mean in the Snyder films, I know Alfred is kind of cheeky and funny.
Oh yeah,
but but here there's some real wisdom.
Yeah, he is. Alfred is more the father figure in these films than he has ever been, before.
I think it's easy for people to look at Blake and to kind of say, "Oh, he's just an unnecessary kind of extra, character. We don't necessarily need him." But the thing is, Nolan is never about digging into one, like in a movie like that he does like this. It's never about just digging into the one guy or whatever.
Yeah,
this is always about. This is always about the spectacle.
Yeah,
and the characters are there to support the spectacle of the movie.
Well, a lot of his films are multi-layered. Follow different groups of characters. You look at Inception's that way, and now Dunkirk certainly is that way. After two films, people talk about how trilogies need to progress, and it would be kind of boring if Batman was the only character that you got to follow in the third film. I mean, it would get relatively old. So I think that was one of the most successful things that they accomplished with this is that it really gives you a very good taste of the Bat family concept.
Well, that's thanks to Jonah Nolan, who Chris Nolan was originally kind of opposed to bringing in all this other stuff, but Jonah Nolan felt that it was essential to tell a complete Batman story to have both Catwoman and Robin involved. And Robin is a very spiritual interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
But the truth is, a costumed Robin would never have worked for these movies.
No.
Ever. And people were crazy to think that that's what they were going to do.
Was it Nolan joked back in 2005, 2006 that Frankie Muniz is who he'd cast as Robin? That's it. He really said that in an interview. You should look that up if you get a chance.
Here's Bern Gorman, one of my favorite character actors. Of course, he's from Torchwood. It's just terrific.
Yep. And now Pacific Rim.
That's right. Yeah, he's coming back for the new one, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Charlie Day both.
My friend's outside. Just hit send.
Cell phone looks pretty old now.
It really does, yeah. But
there's just no way to put that, in a movie and it not age.
Yeah.
You remember this is one of those characters where there was 10,000 rumors about who
so
they
many
were.
rumors. She was Carrie Kelly. She was Harley Quinn. She was bald.
Oh my gosh! People wouldn't shut up about it. And then guess what? She's nobody.
She was just a nobody. So exactly like Scoot in Dawn of Justice.
Yep.
It was like, who's the? Oh, he's Dick Grayson. Oh, he's Metallo.
He's Jimmy
Olsen. Oh, he's just some guy.
He's just some guy. He really is. He's just some guy.
And even in that dress, no one's gonna miss you.
Oh, can't say things like that. Dress. Me Too movement's gonna go after Nolan now.
Hashtag Nolan too.
I don't know. You did just use his cell phone.
Burn Gorman.
Oh, he got burned.
Gorman.
He got Gormanded.
Less apropos, but still effective.
Well,
We have the Nolan SWAT teams coming in.
Yes, Goof Troop.
Goof Troop is a concept that Brandon and I talk about that has two origins. There's all the cops in all the Nolan movies. Anytime you hear dialogue with cops, it's almost like it switches to a Police Academy movie.
Yeah.
Batman Begins, he's climbing on rooftops.
Yeah.
And okay, then you get to the Dark Knight, and
it's like, oh God, is that a bazooka?
Is that a bazooka?
Yeah.
And then this movie later on, Modine will show himself to be the leader of the Goof Troop. And we say Goof Troop because Stallone, and the commentary and stuff for First Blood, the first Rambo movie, he says, okay, if there's one thing I wish I would have changed about this movie, it's when the military come in and they're the comic relief.
Yeah.
And he keeps talking about Goof Troop.
Yeah.
So this is the real Goof
These guys are
Troop.
like Goof Troop.
And the shootout stuff is filmed brilliantly, by the way. It's very small, it's very minor, but there's some incredible tracking shots. Like this one here, Blake, it's good stuff. This kind of artistry just isn't present in the new DC Extended Universe movies. It's just not.
And again, I'm not trying to incite flame wars, but it's not. You don't see this kind of stuff in anything but, say, the Captain America films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's a result of, Nolan just happens to be a filmmaker who is making comic book movies. I would echo that sentiment for something like Logan, where Mangold is a real director who
That's right.
just happened to make 2 Wolverine movies. A lot of times what you get now was filmmakers who were really into superheroes and comic books and stuff, who happen to be, very good at it, but maybe are not, seasoned at just the basics of film construction. So, although Disney is very good at just, hooking them up with the right people to help them, so that's a big plus. But
a lot of time Disney is getting kind of indie auteurs and then giving them big production guys, so they know about filmmaking, but then they hook them up with the editors and the effects guys.
Yeah. But a film like this is more ground up the work, of art by an individual.
It takes a little while for, singular vision. I see what you mean. It takes a little while for a Batman to show up in the movie, but good lord, the movie is not light on excitement, leading up to it. There's you don't necessarily realize it when you watch the movie the first time, but this is, a Robin adventure at the beginning of the movie.
Where's that DWP guy?
There's leader
And a
Goof Troop.
Modine adventure.
Yeah, it's a Modine adventure.
What is it? Gary Goddard wanted Modine to play He-Man?
That's what
in
they
the
say.
movie? Yeah.
That's the rumor. Gary Goddard thought
Yeah,
that
we
He-Man
just
ought to be
learned
Gary.
that a few months ago.
Thought they ought to be Matthew Modine.
Yeah.
Which just floored me. But, like 80s Modine, I could sort of see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wanted a real actor to play him. Shame on you, Goddard, for not realizing that Lundgren could be a real actor.
Exactly.
Lundgren is very good.
We will see Lundgren in the DC Universe yet again.
Yes, we will.
In Aquaman late this year, after his very good turn on Arrow last season.
He was great.
He was terrific. Which I think speaking of Lundgren, we're getting way off track all the time, but I think they also just cast Drago's son
They
for
did.
Creed 2, so that's pretty cool. And we were just talking about Stallone, so that's full circle. Right?
It's the police commissioner.
What?
He's in prison shape.
You didn't know what to do. You just
You panicked, and your weakness has cost the lives of 3 others.
The thing is, Tom Hardy isn't necessarily like a really tall guy, but
Slash him.
he's average height or whatever. But the way that they shoot these scenes, and Wally Pfister kind of frames them and things, he is made to look as imposing as the camera can possibly make him.
Yeah.
And Hardy got in great shape for this movie too. He was really big. Matter of fact, what was it Tom Hardy said a little while back that he
really hurt himself.
He hurt himself. Yeah, he got bigger than he was supposed to get.
Yeah.
And he still, has problems from it. He can't do it again.
He's dead.
Like I've been seeing, some Venom set photos. He looks like he's in good shape, but he's not like this.
No, he's not.
He said he just can't do it anymore.
He's not a refrigerator anymore.
Right.
Which this mirrors the sort of crazy shape that Bale got in for Batman Begins. If you've never heard that anecdote from the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's very funny.
There's so many layers of complexity for what's going on visually. With the Nolan films, I find there's a real sense of geography, like in the locations. Like there could be a really complicated action sequence going on, but the way that Nolan frames it and boards it, you sort of understand physically where everything's located.
And if I go get a warrant for the investigation of Harvey Dent's murder, I'll still count as unscheduled.
Alfred is not pleased.
Not at all.
Now, if you're not in the know, this mirrors an idea from Batman: Lonely Place of Dying. That Tim Drake is able to just discern that Bruce Wayne is actually Batman. So I think that's a really good touch. And the Blake character, if you don't know, just sort of takes
He's Batman.
Little bits of inspirations from different versions of Robin.
Well, he's a little bit of all of them.
Yeah. I like the idea, he's a police officer, just like Dick Grayson when he gets older.
Bloodhaven.
Bloodhaven.
Used to be fun about
And then his orphanage upbringing, his everything with his parents, very much like Jason Todd. So I think it's a terrific conglomeration.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right.
I remember that one.
I mean, good luck, guys. Doing a better kind of realistic adaptation than this.
Mm-hmm. And that's what that's whatever they do, when and if they do it again, is fun. And I like the Robin story in Batman Forever. Hopefully Mattel gets on the ball and does a figure of that now that the Kilmer's coming out. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Robin's going to be really cool on the Titans show that they're doing for the streaming service. But
there's also an element from the Tim Drake origin story of Robin, where Tim Drake constantly says this line throughout that miniseries, where he says something like, "Batman needs Robin," and this whole scene echoes that sort of sentiment, where Batman, he's kind of a cog in why Bruce Wayne comes back. He's kind of, encouraging him.
So excited. Bruce Wayne, billionaire orphan. I mean, we used to make up stories about you, man. Legends. And the other kids.
what's Levitt done the last couple of years? Well, he's kind of...
He's sort of been doing a lot of his own stuff.
Yeah.
He had that show for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he still does that or anything.
50-50 was great. With him and Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
That was terrific.
I don't know why he took the fall for Den's murder.
And he was good in the new Sin City, too, even though the movie itself was just kind of...
Yeah, he was very good, and I actually enjoyed his stuff a lot.
Why did you say that your boys' home used to be funded by the Wayne Foundation?
Because the money stopped. Might be time to get some fresh air. Stop paying attention to the details. Some of those details might need your help.
You check that name, Bane?
He's a mercenary. No names.
I looked him up in DC's Who's Who, Volume 4.
Good mining operations.
Like, where did Alfred go to learn about Bane? It's just like little bits of convenience. Like, I mean, and all movies do it. I'm not like ragging.
I found out that he's Spanish. He was born in a prison, and then he had this teddy bear thing. I don't understand it, old master. He's also 12 feet tall and about 2 tons in weight. He's powered by venom.
Yes.
And then he's going to be powered by venom again in the new film.
Yes, 1 or 2.
I need an appointment at the hospital for my leg.
Which hospital?
Whichever one Jim Dangle's at.
Dr. Jim Dangle. Reno 911, y'all.
Which Thomas Lennon was in Memento. I guess that's why he wound up doing this.
Yeah. Thomas Lennon just, shows up every now and then and stuff. He's a great character actor.
And one of the funniest men alive.
That's right.
Thomas, all I have to do is hear Thomas Lennon speak, and I pretty much crack up.
Me too.
I giggled every time I saw this movie in the theater.
I hope he's not new boot goofing back there. I don't know. If I was Bruce Wayne, I don't know if you want to be wearing a ski mask around. You might get arrested.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It might be better to be caught in a Batman costume than just wear that ski mask. Poor Jim Gordon, he's going to scare him to death.
It's a wonder that Bruce Wayne didn't get shot coming in the window.
That's right.
What's going on?
Now, this was used in one of the trailers, right?
This was the very first teaser trailer.
This was the teaser trailer.
That ran with, what was it, Deathly Hallows Part 2?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, because I can remember I was never huge into Harry Potter, and waiting because it was going to come online later that night after the preview showings or whatever for Deathly Hallows 2, and my brothers and everybody went to go see it, and I was just waiting. I was like, oh, it's almost time.
I do like that there's such a complexity to the kind of flawed hero concept in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Gordon has kind of, he's done things he shouldn't for the sake, kind of the sins of the Dark Knights come back to haunt them.
Mm-hmm. Here you go, Harley Quinn. Here you go, Carrie Kelly.
Barbara Gordon.
Here you go, Barbara Gordon.
I don't think Bruce Wayne's trying to be real inconspicuous or anything with that car.
Mm-hmm. Like, what is it? Like, what was his plan? He was going to come back out of obscurity at the exact same time that Batman did.
Seems like a bad idea. Then again, he did disable all their cameras just then, so maybe that's the thing.
Although it would be the perfect out because he can play up the cane.
Yeah, that he's totally disabled at this point.
Nobody would ever believe that.
Even before you became a recluse, you never came to these things.
The proceeds go to the big fat spread. It's not about charity. It's about feeding the ego of whichever society hag.
You know, Dark Knight Rises,
This is my part.
it's a great movie. You know, I love The Dark Knight Rises, of course. It's kind of the point of this whole thing. But it is a little stuffed.
It is, yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know how you feel about this, I like the Take character fine, but I sort of think maybe they didn't need her.
Yeah, it's the one X element that you could cut out of the film. And it would barely miss. You know,
I mean, it would hardly change anything.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd have to do a little bit of restructuring, but at the same time, you know, you want the fullness of these concepts explored, and you know, obviously, you know, she turns out to be Talia al Ghul, and you want.
Which was spoiled so early on, by the way. We
and it wasn't any more obvious.
Well, I know it was extremely obvious, but then it was everywhere, all over the internet. Pictures of her in like that kimono get up or whatever.
So they didn't try particularly hard to hide it. But you know, I like those concepts being paid off. And if you're going to introduce, you know, it would have been a bold move to have a film with, you know, multiple sort of heroes in the Batman universe and multiple villains. Of course, you know, that's one of the things about Catwoman being in the film is that she straddles that line, so she can kind of be both. But you know, I think it comes off fine. You know, I mean,
well, the only thing that I really do appreciate about it is it gives a very solid connection to Batman Begins and Ra's al Ghul, or as they say in these films, Ra's al Ghul, which is incorrect, but
still an issue.
Yep, pops up in the Arrowverse.
Yep,
people saying Ra's.
Although they say Ra's pretty well in Gotham. He's been in these last couple of seasons, so. It's all the same now.
I started out doing what I had to. Once you tell me
there's some very kind of some of it's understated and some of it's overstated. The kind of classist commentary going on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Nolan said that he and Jonah sort of thematically based it on a Tale of Two Cities. Is that correct?
That was their one of their big influences going into it. It's interesting how these issues have continued to pop up. You know, probably more important culturally now than they were 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of anticipated some of this. Christian Bale don't have to take that.
He really will just hit a woman, as we know. Ask his mother and sister. A fantastic trailer line used to great effect.
It was.
And all sorts of advertising.
1%ers.
Hashtag 1%.
Those pearls do it better on you than they did on myself.
Had 1% become a colloquialism as of yet?
I think it just had actually. This movie kind of anticipated it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's like we were saying.
You scared her off.
You know, this movie has such a traditional sort of filmic quality to it in many ways. Sequences like that seem like they could have come out of a film from the 70s. You know.
Oh sure. You know, Nolan is he's a classical director.
Yeah, very schooled filmmaker.
Takes a little time to get back into so many things.
Trailer stuff.
More trailer stuff.
I'm in this movie too.
Guess what? I'm back. Speaking of people who will do anything for a check.
Well, sure.
Hey, you know, it's one of those. You know, what was it? He got caught. He was in a car wreck with his girlfriend.
Something like that.
And his wife found out, and it was like he couldn't get out from under that now. If that happened today,
Yeah.
like it would be It will be much more mainstream news.
Well, let's sit tight. Your majority keep Daggett at bay while we figure out a future for the energy.
Mr. Daggett.
Miranda Tate. She has supported
Miranda
the
Tate.
all the way. She's smart.
I call her Catherine Tate earlier.
Maybe. Who's Catherine Tate?
She's that the actress from Doctor Who?
Yes, that is correct.
The redheaded lady who played
Donna Noble. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know. You may have. I don't know.
Who knows? But either way,
Maybe you're just half remembering.
Tate's a divisive character.
Yeah.
West. Well, let me show you some stuff anyway.
Hope nobody's around there, Lucius.
There's somebody watching from the next building over through a pair of binoculars.
I had people in third world countries manufacture all this equipment. I didn't do all this on my own. I'm just very intelligent.
After your father died, Wayne Enterprises set up 14 different defense subsidiaries. For years, I've been shuttering and consolidating all the different prototypes under one roof. My roof. Keep them from falling into the wrong hands.
It's amazing that nobody had utilized Lucius up until the Nolan films.
Yeah. I mean, he had made sporadic appearances in the animated series, but other than that, he had not been in any of the previous TV film adaptations. It's Lucius Fox, of course, to Nolan and Goyer and everyone involved was the perfect sort of linchpin character to incorporate their sort of real world technology ideas into the movie. There has to be sort of an avenue how Bruce Wayne could get kind of experimental, extreme technology, and so you take a character like Lucius Fox,
robot stuff,
and now now Batman can't get away from that.
That's right.
In every follow-up interpretation, Lucius Fox has been a character, and and if he hasn't been a character, we still get the recurring idea that like they're the Flying Fox and Justice League just came out was a military prototype. It was not something not like a ubiquitous thing in the comic books prior to these Nolan films, but it's just completely it's become
I feel like they
inseparable
lean
part
too
of
much on that for Batman's vehicles and equipment and the new stuff.
Yeah,
like
they do.
Nolan already did it. Let it go.
Yeah.
Now it's just time to do more fanciful stuff, and they really didn't in Batman v Superman and Justice League.
No,
they should have.
Even though I love the Batmobile.
Sure, I love the Flying Fox and all that stuff. But I'm just saying that if they wanted to really differentiate it, they should have just done that. You remember there was some sort of anticipation about whether or not Batman would have a new costume in this film?
Yeah, there was some thinking that maybe he would transition suits at some point. But I don't care. I think that the plated armored suit is just a work of art. So
the Dark Knight armor is just incredible. That was the one thing that was kind of, for me, sort of holding Batman Begins back a little bit, is that Batman's suit was kind of just ho-hum. It was sort of by the numbers. It was a great suit, but it was kind of a by the numbers deal.
Yeah.
And when they unveiled the Dark Knight armor, it was a whole new ballgame.
And, it goes to show you, nothing that it's nothing that I would have ever done myself. If somebody had said, you could make the Batman movie costume or design it or whatever, I would have gone straight for gray and black. But this is like something great that we never knew that we wanted. So
I love this reoccurring idea in the movie that Alfred points out there, that there is some part of Bruce Wayne that sort of wants there to be enough trouble to justify him being Batman. I think that's true of Batman in the comics as well, that you have to acknowledge that there's this part of his psyche that's so damaged that he sort of wants to be Batman. Like, even though he hates it, he sort of wants to be.
I think that's an element of his decision not to kill people. It's if I just kill everybody that comes around that does this stuff, what am I going to do after they're all dead?
Here we're coming to perhaps the only section of the film which I would sort of call a little clunky in execution. And I'm not sure why that is for me, but I mean, how do you feel about this whole sequence here in the stock exchange? Do you?
I think it works.
Think it works?
Okay. I think it's. I think it's a more of an issue of audience confusion. A stock exchange is not like a good setting for kinetic storytelling. This is something that could have been explained away in dialogue.
Right.
Later on, like, there's still Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, and then he just wakes up one morning and he's broke. And they could have used these resources for another kind of action scene somewhere else.
Well, actually, my thing isn't so much that which I totally see what you're saying. My thing isn't so much that it's confusing or even sort of unnecessary. The execution to me, some of them, like the lack of music, kind of just make it an awkward scene to watch for me. You can hear right now there's not really anything going on in terms of any kind of theme or audio. It's sort of quiet, and which doesn't really suit what should be a really intense moment for me. So I guess I would follow Hans Zimmer on that one. Like, there's just weird stuff. We're just walking around. It just seems a little silent to me.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into sort of some inconsistencies about the action scene later.
Like how it suddenly becomes nighttime.
Yeah. The magic transition. Which kind of, hurts the realism a little. Once again, it's very fortunate that they brought John Blake in as kind of a major character, because then you can have somebody to follow in all this like build-up stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to follow the Modine character.
No, not really.
He's a jerk, so.
Yeah, it's.
You got the fiber. Sun's working.
See, once again, just more of that. There's not really any music. He's just kind of pacing around.
Yeah,
I remember in the theater thinking
those couple shots didn't even need to be in there. There was no even need to cut back to it.
Back it up.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is this whole thing is clunky.
Yeah.
All this stuff is just kind of. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's stopping dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Some good old Michael Bay style build up. And the other films aren't completely innocent of doing things like that.
No, but this one is perhaps more glaring.
It is, yeah. It's much more obvious.
And then there's the whole idea is this is what brings, like, this is Batman's first big thing, right? That he comes back and does. I don't know. It just, later on, it's really great. But the build up to this just isn't there. It needs to be a little more dire. Mm-hmm. Batman's entrance perhaps needs to be a little more dramatic. But this is the one section I'm just going to sit and gripe about.
Yeah.
I won't do that with
any
others.
I do understand. I mean, completely.
This is the one that kind of that seals the deal of, okay, it's either Dark Knight or Batman Begins. It's kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
And Nolan usually doesn't put together scenes like this, but it's just something to be mentioned this time.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the spectacle of this movie in terms of like on-location filming and how much stuff you're actually seeing in camera that isn't digital, and it's an incredible thing to see some of this stuff. Just the crowds, and the amount of traffic and things and scenes.
Yeah, the real use of vehicles.
Some Goof Troop stuff going on back there, by the way.
Which these guys are obviously the old and the young cop from Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
Daggett's outfit is very impressive.
Which we would be remiss not to point out that the Ben Mendelsohn character is an approximation of Mr. Daggett from the animated series.
In this film, he's John Daggett in this movie? And in the animated series, he's what?
Roland Daggett.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it has been, suggested, I believe even officially that they're, the same character.
Right.
Essentially.
Don't understand the need for a change or anything. But
yeah. But just, an industrialist working in industrial materials. Ed Asner did the voice in the animated series. It's fantastic. Right. You've got a long way to go before you are a full member of Goof Troop, son.
You're going to have to be trained in the goof ways. We'll call you Goofy or something.
Well, every time that Zimmer score. You know, the main theme cues up. It just gets me.
It's energizing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
shut up, Modine.
Goof Troop in full force right there. And here's Catwoman doing Catwoman stuff.
Like I said, it really is a great outfit.
The idea of the goggles becoming the ears in a subtle way is pretty brilliant when you think of it from a cosmic perspective. And they could have taken the lazy way out back there and just had her be wearing the ballroom mask.
Yeah.
And they didn't, so I appreciate that.
Well, that was never an out that Nolan was going to take. There's got to be a little bit of reason for everything. In terms of building up the character, if there's one thing which all superhero
it's nighttime, by the way. We just want to point out that they must have been...
It was daylight 10 minutes
They must have been in the overpass for 2 hours.
All superhero media suffers from one of the sort of flaws of the Catwoman character in this film, and that is that Batman Begins takes the entire movie to build up Batman's credibility, and it takes most of that film for you to understand and believe that he could be like this force of nature, like hand-to-hand combatant and like all-around superhero. And so it can be. I feel like Blake is the good version, the exception to that, where you're trying to introduce this new character who's going to fill this same role, and he's obviously very inexperienced, and you see him kind of stumble. Whereas Catwoman here, you see somebody who, having not seen her journey and her, her transformation, it kind of seems like a little cheap. It's like, oh well, it's. How many times do you see somebody just show up and be able to do 7 backflips? And and it's maybe is a little bit less believable. But like I said, it happens all the time in these films. You introduce your main character and you build up to them very well, and then your ancillary characters and your sidekicks come around and they're somehow just able to do the same thing, in a matter of days.
Once again, it goes back to there's some real spectacle here.
Oh yeah,
where you can tell that a lot of this is in camera, and it's just not something you're likely to see again.
No. Too much property damage.
Now, thankfully, right around the time Batman gets this thug, this is where things kind of get back on track for me in terms of a pacing. In terms of, this is okay, this is what Nolan should be. This is how he put things together in The Dark Knight. He got a lot of firepower. Goof Troop line, man, all the way. Got a lot of firepower.
Some Blues Brothers stuff going on now.
He's as dumb as he dresses, Modine's worst line in the movie.
Oh, it pains me. Nolan he still can't escape that stuff. I don't know what it is.
Something about the police. I don't know. I guess he's looking for moments of levity in Batman movies. It's kind of hard to find it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's just not much in his films otherwise. So.
I think some people at the time, believe it or not, were a little critical that maybe the Bat was kind of pushing it too much in terms of what the realism could be for the movie. But I don't know. It seems like a very possible kind of military grade, stealth copter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there have been attempts to manufacture vehicles like that in the past. So I don't think it's too much of a step outside.
Well, I mean, if you look at a stealth bomber, it looks maybe just as fantastical as the Bat does.
Yeah, and and take something like that out of context and show it to people 60 years ago, and they would think it was science fiction. So,
I think it's important to mention here that with Mendelsohn, he looks so much younger here than he would in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yet at the beginning of Rogue One, they try to do that flashback where he's really young. He doesn't even look as young
as he does here. Film.
I mean, here, he looks so much more, and they weren't even trying to make him look young. So he must have had a rough, 8 years leading up to Rogue One.
No, not
8 years.
Man.
I'm sorry.
Like 4 years.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if you're the same, but I keep thinking that, The Dark Knight Rises came out in, 2010 or something. I don't know why. But I guess I don't put it in context with the newer wave of superhero films.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, it's the same year as the first Avengers. So.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it's funny that's sort of getting further in the past, too. But, well, I think it's probably symptomatic of the long wait. There was 4 years between
right.
The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. So
I'll tell you what I do think works in spades in this movie is the MacGuffin of Catwoman's looking for the clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something easy for the audience to kind of get behind and kind of understand her motivation right away.
Yeah.
And I think it does character building without having to, flex much muscle.
Exactly. And it helps you follow her as an enigmatic character. Is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy?
That's why I followed them. They had nothing. It's a gangland map.
I always sort of question whether, like, as we learn later, the clean slate is a real thing, and Bruce Wayne has knowledge of it. Is Daggett just lying, or does he actually think it's not real?
Not know.
I mean, that's left ambiguous in the movie, but it is something to wonder about. Something I would like to ask Nolan myself.
I assume he's just lying.
To me, this sequence is really, really great. The way that
it's pure 60s Batman.
Kind of the beat up all the thugs part.
Yep.
Where's the fun in that?
I feel like Nolan is always really good at doing what I would call widescreen action. Mm-hmm. So the whole frame is filled with interesting things going on.
Don't warn me about getting into calls with strange men.
Trailer stuff. Batman has moved beyond cars. It's now flying. He's flying over rooftops.
There is not, except for Bane's camo tumblers, there is not a Batmobile anymore in this movie.
No, there's not. That's bold. It's just like reusing the same suit. I mean, I'm sure, man, that some rep from Mattel begged Warner Brothers to talk Nolan into giving Batman some kind of extra armor or something, like a recovery suit.
Yeah. Can he wear the armor? And there was probably some consideration of giving him a heavy armored suit, like in The Dark Knight Returns.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe to fight Bane at the end or something. But he could have gotten back into the Batman Begins suit because it would have been the only one left. After.
I would have been okay with that.
Michael Gow could have come out and given him the sonar prototype after Bane blew up the rest of the Batcave. Which I believe is the sonar suit is the
suit they used to audition.
The audition suit they used for everybody.
I don't know. I thought it might have been the Panther suit.
It could be, yeah. I just know they said it was the one
possible.
from Batman Forever. Both Christian Bale and Cillian Murphy said the same thing. So.
Christian Bale, his Batman voice, that is a great moment, by the way. His Batman voice was kind of toned down for this movie.
Yeah, very much so.
He kind of went too far with it in The Dark Knight, so in a couple spots. Not that it hurt the movie or anything, but he kind of reeled it in a little. It was much more just a subtle, raspy whisper in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things. It's like, good for the movie or not, everybody remembers it.
Uh-huh.
So,
well, he made his mark as Batman.
Yeah, I mean, nobody will ever forget how Batman talked. Nobody will be able to tell you how Ben Affleck sounded as Batman.
No, they won't.
10 years from now.
They really won't. Now, here, this is a funny thing to mention. But this is something we actually hadn't seen Christian Bale do as Batman up to this point, was just take the mask off and lounge around like in the suit for a while. It was kind of a big deal. I hate to sound like, an idiot. It's when I kind of gush over it.
Yeah, no, it's true though. Well, see, nobody had ever done it.
Nope. You're right. Not a single one.
Except Keaton literally tearing the mask off, and
that's
Batman
so different.
Returns. Yeah,
but Batman never came and just chilled and took the mask off, and just
like he does it in the comics,
all the time, constantly. Who leads them now, Brendan? Who leads them now? Maybe me. Maybe I'm really Bane. Perhaps. Maybe. It's a twist.
Alfred turns around and he turns the dial on his hand, and the venom comes out of the tank. Oh!
What tricks they were executing?
What do you, I mean? Are you satisfied with the literal interpretation of Bane? I mean, like,
Oh God, not at all.
Do you wish?
I'm kidding. No, I'm.
Do you wish they had gone with something like Venom? I just don't think there's a way to do that.
No, that wouldn't have worked here.
And I think that
Now-
if they had tried to, let's just shut up for a minute.
Yeah,
'cause
that's it.
I can't. I can't even right now.
It's a lot to take, man.
Yeah.
I challenge DC Extended Universe to ever have a moment that meaningful in any of their films.
Well, not just. I mean, there's a fear, not just with those films, but with comic movies in general, to take the time. Like I've said it, except for Logan, these films won't take the time to just be quiet and let you soak in somebody's death if the death turns out to be real or meaningful.
It's usually neither.
Yeah.
We can't let Dagger get his hands on Applied Sciences.
So.
Applied Sciences is all locked up and off the books. The energy project, however, was a different story.
Meditate. We need to convince the board to get behind her. Let's show her the reactor.
Meeting with them in 35 minutes. So you could get dressed.
I suppose to Miranda Tate's credit, there's never a lot of time wasted on her very much. I mean, she's very subtle.
She's not in the film, a terrible one.
But that's also a detriment for her to be so major at the end of the movie. It prevents the movie from being as self-contained as it probably needed to be.
Yeah.
And this scene is well executed. This is a setup scene for later on in the movie, but it's interesting enough, especially this room. I'm actually not exactly sure how they did that back there. If that was a real thing or if that was just
I wonder what sort of actual utilitarian facility this is.
When you can't tell, they've done something right.
Exactly.
Because this movie was made in 2012 and I can't tell.
Yeah, this film speaks to sort of Nolan's fascination with James Bond and stuff.
Oh, yeah, this is much more James Bond than any of the other Batman films, actually.
Yeah.
Your reactor started developing problems.
Talia's accent just goes all over the place in this movie. You never know what she's going to
say. She is 12 kinds of ambiguous European.
I've heard Marion Cotillard or Cotillard, however you want to say the name. I've heard her kind of reflect, unfavorably on her performance in this film, and yeah, her death scene is certainly something we'll talk about when we see it. But she claims that Nolan just picked the wrong takes, and I don't know. That seems a little bullish to imply. I don't know.
I sort of lean towards believing her, though, honestly, because
I think maybe Nolan was like going for something that she wasn't really trying to do, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Bruce, if you want to save the world, you have to stop trusting him. Trusting you.
She's not had a tremendous career since this.
It's true.
So, you know.
Was she in the Prince of Persia movie?
I think so, yeah.
I can't remember. Maybe she was.
Something like that. It seems right, but...
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
But then that was before, I believe.
Yeah, I think.
Well, she'd been in Inception. That's what we kind of all know her from.
It's highly irregular, even if it's
It's highly irregular.
Bruce Wayne's family built this company.
These guys sticking around.
There's the senator guy. Who's
just a huge Batman fan. He had been in Batman and Robin as well, right?
I can't remember, but I just know he was in Dark Knight and Begins, I believe.
Yeah.
and he has to go. I'm afraid he has a point, Mr. Wayne. Go back to business.
So melancholy.
Well, I really like what Zimmer does with the music back there. It's very moody.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love how they repossess his car before he can leave.
Did anybody ever do the Rocky V trailer?
I don't think so.
The money is gone.
But they should.
Well, no, I
maybe
guess
we should.
One of Kevin Smith's friends on one of the podcasts talked about how this movie was sort of like Rocky 3 too.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Bane was just Clubber Lang.
Yeah, it's Mendelsohn, and he needs to know things. Oh, this scene. This scene, man, I love it.
Didn't work.
Dude.
What did Daggett really think he was gonna do? Like, did he really feel like he could intimidate?
We see all this stuff always in action movies where this little guy is like threatening the big heavy.
Yeah.
And this is, look at that.
Yeah.
All it takes is one hand on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Do you feel
and Burn
like
just like disappears. Too.
Gorman's out.
This gave him good practice for getting slapped around by Darth Vader later. As we've always joked.
Poor guy. He can never like have full authority.
It's happening again.
Yeah. It's so hard to discern that Bane is saying, and the borrowed time that you've all been living on back then. To me, it was always really hard to understand what he said.
I can't. I don't think there's a single line that I ever had a big.
I had a big problem with that. I had to. It wasn't until a home video that I realized what he said. And the borrowed time. It's just kind of weird to me.
It's fascinating though. Kind of looking forward. I don't want to jump ahead too far, but even in the context of the film story, Gordon and everybody kind of break it down like Bane never cared about sort of a social revolution or anything, and that it was all just to cause chaos or whatever to fulfill Ra's al Ghul's wishes. But I mean, he says that to somebody that's never going to be able to repeat it. So I mean, I feel like he believes in what he's doing in that regard. So, but it's just adds an additional layer.
I think Bane believes 100% what he's doing. I like back there the scene with Blake because Bruce Wayne is essentially trying to tell him to take over as Batman in kind of a subtle way.
Exactly.
Because Batman could be anyone. I feel like Nolan definitely had the most mature take on Batman. It might not be necessarily the most fun, No. None of this is quite as fun as Batman in the warehouse beating up all those guys and Batman v Superman, but it's a lot more meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we'll remember these movies forever.
That's right.
People will look back on these films as the best consistent time that DC ever had making movies like this and Superman 1 and 2. And they'll come back around to doing things like that again. the closest they've come in the extended universe is Wonder Woman, definitely.
Brandon, they just found John Daggett's body in the garbage.
If I die, just put me in the trash.
That's what he said. I was that.
I like the idea that Modine is just visiting him in the hospital. Like he just came to.
Well, he had a great Goof Troop line where he said, "Keep these hotheads. Get this hothead out of here." I think he says at one point.
Working for me now, and we could use some hotheads around here.
Oldman said that he would only do the film if he could perform a good portion of it in the bed, so that he wouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne is so poor he has to use a newspaper to cover his head now. He's really hit rock bottom in a short amount of time.
Nobody's answering.
No. I'm on my own now.
Do you have keys?
I haven't needed them.
I think I remember reading some interviews with Christian Bale where he was like, you know, it's important to me that we explore like the Batman sensual side of the movies. Like, you ever remember that?
Yeah.
And so it was really funny because Nolan typically, we'll just put it like this, he doesn't really explore romance in his movies very much. He's pretty gentlemanly. He really is.
In the vaguest.
Oh, it's always very vague.
Sort of idea of like, oh, I'm in love with X.
And here you're going to see a very vague
a very Nolan
of bat romance. I mean, who knows what happened? Maybe they just played Monopoly that night. Maybe he's got. If you look closely, that's actually the leg lamp from A Christmas Story behind them.
Do you think that Damien is conceived later in this scene?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what it's leading to, especially since she's dead by the end
killed
of the movie.
later.
Yeah, I mean, so Batman. I won't make that joke. No, when he blows her up. No.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's probably true though.
Oh boy. The electricity going out is pretty funny.
Yeah. It's a great touch.
Dark Knight Rises has quite a sardonic kind of sense of humor. I do like it.
What was it?
They took his bed, by the way. Now he's got nothing.
No, he's sleeping on the rug.
I have to sleep on the floor, baby. That's all I got. Did you say your shoulder was hurting, Mrs.? There's nothing loving about this, friends. Go ahead.
We used to joke when she picks up the photo of Rachel Dawes that Bruce Wayne should play it off like it's his sister. Oh, that's my sister. She's dead.
You know what they should have done is they should have had two pictures, one of Maggie Gyllenhaal and one of Katie Holmes.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I want is like when she picks up the picture and Bruce Wayne sees it, he has like you hear like very faintly in the background. You've heard me say this before. You should hear like Rachel Dawes over the phone in The Dark Knight screaming hello. Like that's his like dying move. Hello.
By the way, back there,
the ghostly hello.
When they were wrapped up in like the nice kind of throw with the fur,
yeah,
it should have just been newspapers that he had duct taped together. That's all he's got. Okay.
That's what they were burning.
I'm sorry, things are getting real now.
They were burning styrofoam to keep warm.
Now, this sequence is about as exciting as any moment in any Batman film ever.
Yeah.
There's some real, genuine excitement and high-stakes danger for the next, 6 or 7 minutes. And I'm telling you, this little montage they put together of Batman and Catwoman kind of like cleaning up,
cleaning up town,
is incredible. I don't know about you, even though I don't know, I think Bale is extremely intimidating when he's Batman.
I think so, absolutely.
I think he's incredibly intimidating.
Is that Andy Serkis?
He's insatiable. Hashtag lack of showers. Google lack of showers.
Google Andy Serkis lack of showers.
Oh, I love that shot back there, man, where you can just see Batman get lit up, at different spots. Incredible. I love how they hop in and out too.
In true comic book style. Oh, I love it. Love the framing.
When this happened in the theater, it was quite a moment.
You could hear a pin drop.
I had to find a way to stop them trying to kill me.
You made a serious mistake.
Not as serious as yours. I fear.
Once again, man, it's all about the angle and the framing. He looks like he's 8 feet tall.
I don't think the vest design gets enough love either.
No,
Like,
the
everybody
vest is
loves the
brilliant.
mask, but the vest is fantastic.
Victory has defeated you.
Man, who comes up with this incredible dialogue? This is great. Well, Jonah Nolan, clearly.
Yeah.
Jonah's a gift, by the way. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. You know, I think Jonah loves Batman as much as like anybody could.
Yeah. Everybody on the planet.
It's thanks to him that a lot of this stuff ended up in the movie. Love it, man. The subtle glide where the cape catches back there.
Yeah. You want to see a fight in a movie? This is a fight.
This is a fight. It's a real fight too. I mean, there's nothing trumped up about it in terms of.
Yeah.
Nobody's
doing
wire
anything
work,
like
no wire
completely
fluke.
unhuman or anything. That's as science fiction-y as it gets.
Well,
something like that.
and that was plenty possible. It was all done in camera.
Oh, they'll love this. It's the wet bat suit.
Yes.
The lighting off of it.
And it looks really good that way, actually.
How like feeble, that stuff really comes off when he's not in control.
I think that's the point of that particular
of course.
moment.
Yeah.
And also the harsh lighting here is sort of meant to convey that Bane is taking away Batman's big asset in the other movies, which is, kind of like hiding out and being smarter than the other guy. Psychopaths.
Psychopaths.
The League of Shadows. I am here to fulfill Ra's al Ghul's destiny.
It's as cinematic as anything that can be filmed.
You fight like a younger man. There's nothing held back. Admirable, but mistaken.
I like the recurring idea of the EMP weapons.
That's right. That's kind of Batman's thing in these movies.
I was born in it. Molded by it.
So many great memes.
Until I was already a man.
Pretty much everything Bane said in this movie has become memed.
It has,
over the years.
The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
He had to go back to using one of the bad cowls from Batman Begins.
Yeah.
That Alfred breaks with the bat.
To bring justice. Then I will break you.
Just very conveniently lands.
Your precious armory, gratefully accepted. We will need it.
This was such an insane reveal that they were directly under kind of the whole lab.
Ah, yes. I was wondering what would
Oh, here it comes.
Your spirit?
Great visuals for an entire decade of comics.
That's right.
And I guess it was sort of up in the air. Nobody knew for sure that they were going to do it in the movie.
No, there wasn't.
There was no
There wasn't a clue.
advertising or anything. So
Well, the conclusion of this fight was only ever hinted about with the broken Batman mask.
So to say that I was ecstatic seeing that in the theater, like, with putting it mildly, I just thought that was the most.
I was kind of terrified, to be honest.
It was, yeah.
Like
exactly.
I was
That's-
really
yeah.
unnerved and frightened. That's why I hope nobody's watching this the first time with us, talking about it. But seriously, though, I mean, to see it and just not have a clue what was going to happen, it's just kind of scary. And Bane should frighten you and unnerve you. And readers of early '90s DC Comics should know exactly what that feeling was like with Bane, because he was an unnerving character.
It is funny, even though it didn't work out nearly to the same effect. It was similar in Dawn of Justice, because even though we knew Doomsday was going to be in the movie, we weren't 100% sure Superman was going to die. So, in very much the same vein, and very much the same Bane vein, it's hard to escape the sort of specifics of those characters going up against each other. Look, ma'am, you're Catwoman. I'm Robin. We gotta work this out. Here,
It's at
please.
this point that Blake takes out the Robin costume. Maybe you don't want to tell John Blake nothing, Toots, but maybe you'll talk to Robin or Nightwing. Hathaway is terrific in this scene. I always thought when she's doing kind of the understated Selena Kyle, it's pretty effective.
But I think genuinely regretful.
Oh yeah.
So many great trailer lines.
No, I think people look at all this stuff about Bruce Wayne being in the prison. They take it a little literally, for my taste, but I'll get into that in a second. Let's listen to this great dialogue.
That's a good sign for anything when you're trying to comment and you have to stop.
The Permission to Die speech is one of the greatest, monologue achievements
In villain history.
It really is. The actual design of the prison, which we'll see a lot more of later, is so kind of an MC Escher nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a very impressive design.
And he gets, on the subject of the specifics of Bane's origin, we'll see a little bit more of this reveal as we go on, but there's basically a fake out. You get an origin presented here later in the story that appears to be their interpretation of Bane, his origin from the comic books, but then obviously again it's a fake out. But I guess there's no reason not to assume that his origin is not just exactly the same as the comic books, because it's never elaborated on. So
I like the ambiguity myself.
Yeah, me too. And again, things like the mask, it being a painkiller or whatever instead of injecting him with venom.
Right.
I think that I like that. It's a good compromise to making something realistic, and I like that it's not. So many of these things get bogged down with ultra specific explanations of how these things work, and I don't care. I don't need to know there's a liquid anesthetic in this tube and it goes in. If they had stopped for 3 minutes to explain that, it would have ruined it.
Well, logistically, it also makes a good deal of sense to say, okay, well, if this numbs him from all pain, he can do superhuman things because he's not feeling it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it serves sort of the same purpose, when you think about it.
I absolutely love this guy.
Yeah. Both of these actors were just great for this.
Yeah.
It's probably important to mention that Nolan has a real gift for casting. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that could argue that he doesn't perfectly cast like his roles. I think he finds the exact right person for everything.
Even the most incidental of characters.
That's right. Of course, you have the "This Fire Rises" kind of song, chant, or whatever you would call it, that goes. I remember this audio bite was used on the website.
Yeah.
It's like a promotional thing. Kind of makes you wonder what the point of the rope is. I mean, clearly that's going to like kill him when he goes.
Yeah.
He says there is one who did. A child born in this house.
It's a terrific fake out, like you were saying.
An old legend.
I like, because of the short hair, we can just assume it's a boy.
Yep.
Nope.
I remember talking to people about this movie. Had only seen it one time.
Yeah.
When it was first released, and they were swearing up and down that they were like, I swear they said he when they were talking, and I was like, no.
Nope.
And they were like, no, they did, like, they messed up. And I was like, no, like, they're not that stupid.
You know, I love it because American audiences believe that they're so smart.
Yeah.
They're so much smarter than the filmmaker. If you're talking about like a Michael Bay or something, or Stephen Sommers, you're totally right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they don't know better than like a Nolan.
No.
I know that what's about to happen, people pick to death on this movie. Like, all the logistics of could a city be like really shut down and all this and closed off from everything. I mean, guys, don't look into this too much. I mean, really.
Yeah.
You gotta suspend. For all the things that this movie series does to be realistic, you can't suspend your disbelief like a little bit on some of this stuff. You're watching a Batman movie after all.
It's all explained in the dialogue, and whether or not you can accept their explanations is one thing, but you have to take it for its thematics and not its not its literal specifics. So
you also have to think to yourself, okay, well, this is an unprecedented situation. Nothing like this has happened where there's somebody who ransoms a city with a possible nuclear weapon. So, there really isn't a precedent for what would actually happen under these circumstances.
Go on, Ed. Do your work.
And I think that from a script perspective, they do a very good job of trying to cover all their angles. There's not some tremendous gaping plot hole to be found. They again, like I said, they cover everything, at least if it's just an incidental piece of dialogue. So
it's interesting. I think that people are able to. When you look at Bane, I hear lots of jokes. Oh, well, he's Sean Connery, and then he's Captain Picard,
Yeah. Although he was literally Captain Picard at one point.
Well, he was. Yes. Star Trek 10, Nemesis. But me personally, I believe that Nolan was sort of was basing him on Blofeld more than anybody.
Oh, I think it's absolutely right.
I think that Bane has way more in common with Blofeld.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all, James Bond plot, so.
Yeah.
I think there's an air of brilliance here about removing Batman from this middle portion of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remove Batman, it allows the rest of the story to have a lot more room to breathe, and the other characters to kind of be bolstered, and this essential villain plot to kind of move along unencumbered.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's the nature of the comic book storyline that it's reflecting. Batman goes out of commission, and I think that this is maybe a better version even than Nightfall, in that you have an even more reluctant hero who isn't guided, by Batman, even as much as Azrael is in the comic books. So. And I do like Blake and Catwoman, but the highlight here is Gordon getting to be sort of the main hero of Gotham while Batman's out of commission.
Right.
Jesus. They're not making cement, they're making explosives.
It's important again to highlight Nolan's reoccurring theme about the flawed heroes in the movie, and you also, we talked about earlier how Gordon and Batman, had been dishonest and had, kind of betrayed the public trust in a way for the, for the overall good, or at least they felt it was the overall good. Mm-hmm. But then you also have Alfred, did the same thing to Batman. So there's kind of this sense that these other heroes have kind of failed.
Yeah.
And so you have, like, Blake and Catwoman are sort of subbing for them because they're sort of victims of their own failures. For the first third of the movie, the first half of the movie, they're kind of put out of commission by their failures.
There's a ring around the tunnels. They're gonna blow it and trap the cops underground.
Pull him out. Pull him out now.
Modine did not goof troop hard enough to get the cops out. This was a bonanza filming this scene, apparently. So many people were involved in it and everything, and it was highly promoted. There's also a shot in this sequence somewhere where doesn't somebody sneak in the Robin R on one of their signs? They're yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that online.
The stylized 90s Robin R. Which nobody caught, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's a wonder it's not been digitally removed since then.
I know. These guys were real football players, as far as I know. But I don't know anything about football, but these guys were actual professional players, as far as I know. It's funny. They filmed a very similar kind of deal.
Yeah, for Dawn of Justice that barely got used.
Barely was used in the movie.
Did they even keep the team name?
I don't know. I don't remember.
The Gotham Bandits or whatever.
Never paid a lick of attention.
I think it was weird for Nolan to center, a big sequence around a purely American sport.
Well, Nolan is sort of American.
That's true, yeah.
He was, for those who kind of don't know, Nolan was born in England and was he was a kid in England, like a really young kid. Then his family moved to America or something, and he grew up a lot in America.
Well, like Jonah, if you've ever heard him speak, he has no British accent whatsoever.
Because he didn't grow up in England, unlike Chris Nolan when he was younger. So it's kind of a weird situation. But I don't know. I think that kind of makes the Nolans kind of a gift to us because they sort of have this British sensibility, but they're also quite American as well.
People are going to take those out of context, those clips, to make us sound like racial gentrifiers or something.
Yeah, we somehow have something against it.
Yes.
I don't know how. The non-white English, of course. I feel like the digital stuff really holds up still about the football field being blown apart and things. I mean, and here we are 6 years later. Oh, did you see the R back there?
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, the effects still hold up. It's a weird thing to say, but I guess because there was some commonality in some of the filming locations, some of this larger scale stuff kind of reminds me of Dark of the Moon a little bit.
It really does, yeah.
I guess a lot of it was Chicago, right? Where they filmed a lot of it.
Jesus, Blake.
Modine. Come in, Modine, please.
He got his name wrong. He called him Jesus Blake. Never has a man looked more miserable. Isn't that Dracula? Oh, wait a minute.
It's decrepit old dress Dracula. So we need more of Robin with a shotgun.
Just earlier, he had thrown his handgun down in disgust. I guess he was over his whole anti-gun thing.
Well, he's going to save Gordon, so... I think Batman would shoot a man at point-blank range to save Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, probably.
Well, he killed Two-Face.
Well, that's right. He did.
Basically,
threw Two-Face off a cliff. Blake is a terribly important character for this movie because we really do follow him as the hero through probably a larger portion of the film than we do Batman.
Mm.
But considering that the movie is named Dark Knight Rises for him,
yep.
I mean, he's sort of the, I don't know if you would call him a POV character. I don't think you would. I think you would call him a very important key player. It's more of a side character, but still very significant. Ho ho. Gordon's taking out fools in a hospital gown. You know, he should have, like, ran out and the gown, like, flap open, his bare butt, like, hanging out.
There should have been some tasteful male rear nudity.
Ask Ang Lee about that, man. He'll tell you all about it and why it's so important. This guy, was he ever in anything else that plays Pavel or whatever?
He
whatever
looks
his name
super
is?
duper familiar.
Yeah, Pavel. There we go. Okay.
Oh, Oldman's got a great line in
Pavel
Darkest Hour,
Chekhov?
by the way, about being naked.
Mm-hmm.
When his secretary's taking notes while he's in the bathroom, he comes out naked and he says, "I'm coming out in a state of nature."
In a state of nature. Well, that's you know, he was known to do that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Actually,
The blast radius of 6 miles. And who is capable of disarming such a device? Only me. How do you?
and Doritos. I mean, look, it's right there. Oh! I just had to add that.
Thank you. I don't think the Doritos logo has changed very much.
You know, I don't guess it has.
Doritos has consistently been a DC promoter. They did Green Lantern before, and they did Dawn of Justice and stuff after.
Only you would remember that. That's great.
I have Doritos promotions. I have one for Green Lantern.
Well, don't admit
you gave
it.
me.
No, yeah,
I have some for Dawn of Justice, Batman and Superman cutouts.
And at the first sign of interference from the outside world,
Of course, I immediately went out and found the closest I could get to this coat as soon as it was all over the promotional material.
this anonymous government.
So I wore for Christmas, or for Halloween, might have been.
And Christmas.
And Christmas. I have this season in this sub-zero temperatures we've been having in Kentucky. I've been just wearing it as a coat. So.
And where Brandon found that coat is a mystery.
Is that
It's a mystery.
the church thrift store in McKee?
There you go.
To borrow you claim what is rightfully yours.
Doritos and 20-ounce Mountain Dews for everyone.
84 lumber.
And the 84 lumber gift card. The generals from Man of Steel.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's them.
Nolan's military.
The Nolan military.
The Nolan Terry. See, this is just more Transformers stuff, like you were saying.
You could insert this into Dark of the Moon. You would never
know the difference.
Never miss it. I mean, I don't personally. I don't know how the government would respond necessarily any differently in like a real situation. If there was an entire city of people that was being held hostage, I don't really know what they could do.
Yeah.
I mean, this is unprecedented. I have no clue. My guess is they would be sending in like special ops teams and things, but there's the whole matter of this being a Batman film and Batman needing to be the one to save them. So
yeah, well, they try that though later on.
They do. It's true. It's true. But I don't know.
Carl Winslow.
Heavy duty. Has this guy ever done anything else, or was this?
He probably is like a real army guy, if I had to guess.
I'm talking about Bane's dude.
Oh yeah, I was like, well, I assume he's really in the military. Yeah, he did something. He was in what was it? The Collector, that movie with was it Christopher McDonald? It was the Saw ripoff kind of movie. He was the main character in it. You remember?
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I can remember all that, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then he kind of disappeared.
Okay, Blake, I'm going to have to put on a Batman uniform, and you will have to change into your Nolan Robin outfit. The one that all the fans have done the mock-ups of. You are Nightwing, and I am Batman. And I am also Dracula.
I have been a Batman of sorts before. I can do it again.
I'm going to get my Bram Stoker's Dracula armor out, the red armor.
Paint a bat on the front
put
of
it
it.
on, and I'm going to put on a cheap Halloween Batman mask.
Batman.
Remember those Nolan Batman masks that were like everywhere?
Oh,
like little kids.
I've
masks?
still got several of them hanging around.
Now this is good stuff here. I like this. And maybe a couple of women. There's one.
I like that they name drop Blackgate consistently. I also
Yes.
like his publicity still that he got. The only thing it's missing is an Aaron Eckhart autograph.
This headshot proves that Aaron Eckhart used to be a movie star.
And quite a handsome man.
Not no more. Oh, baby.
It's funny because Eckhart kind of looks like Modine.
Modine's like half brother.
Yeah, like give Aaron Eckhart another 15 years, he will look like Modine does in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Or if not sooner.
Probably does now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to send someone to check on Aaron Eckhart. Can someone go to his house and check
Frankenstein?
on him? Make sure he's okay. Yeah, I Frankenstein.
Oh, poor guy. He and Gerard Butler can do a movie together now.
Well, you know, it's the way it is.
Den of Thieves 2, Sea of Thieves.
Aren't they doing? Don't they do those one movies together? About the, you know, London has fallen.
Hey,
and all
that's
that?
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
man,
right.
they already do.
I forgot.
You know, here's the thing: is you knew that, and that was in the back of your head. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right, though; they're the same caliber at this point.
People who had that taste of legitimacy and just can't get it back on track. Poor guys. I feel bad for them.
Something about these Nolan guys that they have a tendency to write incriminating letters, or to do things with letters or lose letters. Alfred had that letter, and Jim Gordon has a letter.
It's Nolan's classy, character. He's all about handwritten letters.
Alfred made it a hero. He's a 911. He betrayed everything he stood for.
Listen to this. Here we go.
What's the point? Far out there when the structures fail you, and the rules are weapons anymore, they're shackles, letting the bad guy get in here. One day, you may face such a moment of crisis, and in that moment I hope you have a friend like I did. To plunge their hands into the filth, so that you can keep yours clean.
Your hands look plenty filthy to me, Commissioner.
It's the best he could get out after Gordon's emotional spill, and it didn't work. Blake, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody loves you as much as Commissioner Gordon.
That's right. Gordon wins no matter what. The beep.
The head bob. Yes. Oh.
By your Bane bobblehead, a head knocker, if you will. And then Arkham Asylum.
I think in the novelization, there's a scene. I think it is Arkham in the novelization, or maybe it's Black Guy. I don't know. I can't remember the specifics, but I read the excerpt, and there's like a little sequence where somebody walks past a cell and they describe seeing the Joker inside.
Yeah,
and
I remember reading
that may have been what they were going to do if they did it in the movie.
It's a good thing they didn't even.
No, I think it would have been in poor taste no matter what they did.
Is there even a single line about the Joker in this movie? I don't think so. Don't think there's one.
I don't even think there's even like a vague allusion.
I think it's pretty important that Nolan didn't go too far with all this about like the ransacking of these people and everything. He could have made this way over the line for a Batman film, but I think he definitely made his point without getting too grotesque.
Yeah, there's no Death Wish stuff going on here.
The visuals are arresting with all like the stuff coming down, people being like drug, out from under stuff. It gets the point across. I think that Bane could win if he runs for president this time. He's so charismatic.
Yeah,
so charismatic. Have
So
a giant
shocked.
Star Wars
So
thermal
bald.
detonator. He's got to get that eye of the tiger back, man. It's like you were saying earlier.
You
It's
lost the
Rocky
eye of the
3.
tiger. There's Mickey. or Apollo, I guess, because Mickey should be dead.
Alfred was Mickey, and just like Mickey dies early in the movie, Alfred leaves.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Rocky 3. You haven't seen Rocky 3 at this point, then I don't think you have a right to be warned of spoilers.
Some of the other prisoners attacked Bane. The doctor's fumbling attempts to repair the damage.
Fumbling. Fiddling, fumbling, and foiling attempts.
Pain and Bane.
Bane was the child you spoke of. He was born here.
The legend is that there was a mercenary who worked for a local war.
See, there's no clarification that Bane was the child or anything like that.
They were married in secret.
Tom Hardy was a very, very interesting young man. I remember him before he became Bane.
Then he exiled him in
And then I remember Ra's al Ghul.
But what he could not know was the true price of his freedom. She took his place in the pit. And she was with Charlie, the mercenary's child. Innocence cannot flower underground, it has to be stamped out. One day, the doctor forgot to lock the cell. But the child had a friend, a protector, who showed the others that this innocence was their redemption. It was to be prized. The mother was not so lucky. This is Bane's prison now. You wouldn't want this story told.
Wouldn't want us to mislead anybody else. I'm sorry.
He won't want us to act as a plot device.
Yeah, again, like you'll see later. This reveal, was obviously that was the child was Talia and the protector was Bane. If you don't know the specifics of Bane's Helmick origin, basically he was in a South American prison where he was forced to serve out a sentence that was delivered to his father.
That's right.
And so again, like watching the film the first time, I was like, oh, that's a neat approximation. I was like, yeah, that gets to the point, and that's obviously what they were going for. But again, like I was saying before, it's funny Liam Neeson became a celebrity in between Batman Begins and The Rise, a celebrity again, after being in obscurity for a while.
I had a full expectation that he would be totally returned and resurrected in this movie. I shouldn't have had that expectation.
Yeah.
Because I guess they were never gonna acknowledge
he had a Lazarus pit or anything. Do you think the Lazarus pit exists in the Christopher Nolan universe?
Maybe.
Sort of. I'm sure that there's an approximation of it.
I think it's like a 50-50 thing. I don't know, man. I'm really going to have to think about that one.
It is a tad funny. He just fades into nothing.
I think that there is a form of spiritual resurrection that Ra's al Ghul was teaching, that he was the master of.
Just like Qui-Gon Jinn. He's the first one to figure out how to be a Force ghost.
Yeah, well, I think that he was somehow with Bruce Wayne here. So I think there's something mystical going on, but I don't necessarily... maybe there's some sort of essence he drawn from the Lazarus pit that was able to have his spirit kind of go on.
Yeah.
But that's getting really out there. That's the best I've got. I don't know.
It's definitely the ghost of Ra's al Ghul haunting him because he killed him.
Right. He flat out killed him, too.
He flat out killed him.
You're just drunk, and I remember this is what you wanted.
I'm Harley Quinn, secretly.
Yes. Kinda. May as well.
Yeah, sure.
Where's Mahoney from Police Academy? Is he down there?
I hear somebody making like sound effects. He's got like a case of Viennese sausages with him. That's what he's bringing up to like these refugees up here.
For the bus, in case there's a chance to evacuate.
Any news, Commissioner?
No less you know, Father.
This guy's gone on to do something else too. I just can't remember what.
Power on, so they got some TV.
Good to see
And
you.
we all know TV is the most important thing.
Hound down cops like dogs.
I am the tigers, the thrill of the fight.
He's watching him, for pleasure.
He should have had his feet on his back. Wouldn't that have been hilarious?
or a bunch of rocks or something.
Yeah. Down, 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 down. I'm sorry, this is just Bruce Wayne just trying to use his white privilege to say that he's better at this than all these guys that have been out here for 20 years. Tried it every day. He's gonna suddenly get it.
Hey, I actually appreciate the ambiguous geography of what's going on here. Is this in Europe? Is it in South America?
Well, you
Where
see, that's the thing. And people have such a hard, American audiences in particular, have a really hard time with unknowns. Like if we can't know something certainly, people get really upset about it
and uncomfortable.
Yeah, and
I prefer it. I think it sort of adds to the. Again, that's what we were talking about. It's like appreciate the symbolism and the imagery instead of worrying about the literal specifics.
Right. I'm sorry, but people thought too literally about this section of the film. Mm-hmm. This prison, everything. This is all supposed to be like an emotional. This is all allegory.
Yeah.
Stuff. I'm not even sure how much of this is real.
Yeah.
I mean and I know that's like that sounds like a crazy thing to say. But seriously, I'm not exactly sure how much of this really happened to Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Something, food for thought, everybody. Something to think about.
Maybe he hallucinated most of this.
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Is how much of this is really a thing?
Yeah.
Is there really is he really halfway across the world? Maybe he's not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just right outside the city, and they're keeping him in something. I know that. Probably a cop out, but that's just how I've always looked at it. It would certainly explain a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Boots in the ground, sir.
We have bags of rice. Repeat, the bags of rice have arrived.
One thing that I don't think is open for interpretation is the ending of the movie. I think that's just foolishness when people talk about whether it's a dream or not. Oh, come on. Get
or whether or not Superman came in and saved him.
Yes. They're wanting it to be... they're wanting it to be another Inception or something. I'm sorry, not every movie that Nolan does is going to have an Inception ambiguous ending, okay? Yeah. Inception is obviously ambiguous. Mm-hmm. This... not really. It shows you something that really happens.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
I'm in contact with my partner who's down there. They're just waiting for the dead.
Once again, it can't be said enough that John Blake is supposed to be, moving the movie along. Mm-hmm. And if a lot of your enjoyment of Rises will depend on whether or not you can accept John Blake or not. And I love the character, so. But I feel like there's plenty enough Batman in the movie. I mean,
I think so.
I feel like there is a Batman Returns amount of Batman in the movie, which is, more than Returns, actually, I would say.
Well, and it's like Tim Burton actually said, what do you want, if there's nothing for Batman to do, what do you want him to just be dancing around?
I'll tell you what, I love Justice League. I thought it was great fun. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was anything deep or meaningful or anything like that, but Justice League was great fun.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of moments where maybe Batman was a little overused.
Yeah.
I'll just say it like that, where Batman maybe came off as too casual. Because he was just kind of around, maybe just a hair too much in full costume. So there is something to be said about maybe being
playing
careful.
It safe. Yeah.
Yep. Just a couple moments, nothing major.
No, I know exactly what you're getting at.
Mr. Fox, would you like to brief the captain?
They're burning computers to stay warm.
Probably.
And then eat. Eating computer chips.
Wayne Enterprises, she enunciates back there.
You built the bomb. It was built as a fusion reactor.
You got a problem with that?
He's a narc! He's a narc! He shouts. Give me money!
This guy's wearing a wire.
Roll him. He's got money.
This bomb is a time bomb, and it will go
Thank you, Blake.
Yeah, that was meaningless. I won't poke much holes in the dialogue in the film, but that one's pretty meaningless.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think to myself, okay, if I had to write like for a large group of characters that were all in the same scene together, I don't know what I would do in terms of making sure they all got to say something.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand the struggle.
Yeah.
This was quite a lofty, kind of ambitious idea to put this like in one single film. This whole thing about the city being overrun and it being, there being like this resistance, and Bane has his forces, and the movie's clearly taking place over the course of like 2 months or something.
Yeah, a very long period of time.
And however, I think that if you try to say, oh well, it just falls flat and none of it works together and it's not cohesive and it's confused, I would argue night and day with you on that one. Because I personally think that it is a miracle that any of this works.
Yeah, that it comes together as well as it does.
In terms of like how much they're cramming into a single movie, no like blockbuster summer movie has ever attempted to put this much stuff in a movie. It just hasn't ever happened. It probably won't ever happen again.
Yeah, and not in terms of like, how are they going to fit all these comic book characters?
Oh no, not like that. But like story. It was more ambitious in terms of plot than anything that's been done.
It genuinely attempts to be an epic in the same sense as Ten Commandments, Gone with the Wind. And I'm not trying to say we need to be thinking of The Dark Knight Rises in the same vein as
certainly
those
not. But it certainly echoes that sort of thing.
Yeah, a long form, storytelling that spans great distances of time and place.
I wonder if he's going to beat Apollo Creed this time. I wonder if he's going to get out of the prison this time.
Oh, he didn't even get as far as he did the last time.
My question is, what if he just messes up his back again with that rope catching him?
Oh, no.
Now, what a great callback here.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's funny, but the movie is just as much a sequel to Begins as it is The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Which is funny because The Dark Knight feels like maybe it doesn't even owe like anything to Batman Begins whatsoever.
Yeah,
and the recasting of Rachel Dawes kind of like completes that feeling.
Yeah.
Fight longer than possible without the most powerful impulse of the spirit. The fear of death.
I do fear death. I fear dying in here.
Only then can you become a Green Lantern.
That's true.
There's no one there to save me.
Then make the climb. As the child is. Without the rope. Then fear will find you again.
Supplies for your journey. Oh, that's wonderful.
He's got it figured out. So apparently they met with, or there was some consideration to cast Bale in the mentor role for the Han Solo movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he said he really would have liked to have done it, so we can expect to see him pop up in Star Wars at some point.
He made some like vague comments that sounded like he'll be in another one at some point.
Oh, sure. Well, who doesn't want to just, if nothing else but for the money, like who doesn't want to just be in Star Wars? So.
It was a big part of my childhood. I really liked them Star Wars movies.
And I love, making money.
You ever see that movie Newsies or whatever it is? We love Star Wars. We were on that movie. Is that what it was called? Newsies?
Newsies, yeah. Based on the Broadway musical.
A Disney film.
Mm-hmm. It's a terrific movie.
Bale's a terrific actor. He really is.
Just cut back to a shot of him falling from before and just roll the credits.
Let's go from there.
Dun, dun, dun. I love the old guy with the full beard.
Like you said, people are so hung up about where this is. Does it really have to? I know it was probably filmed.
Like in Gotham City's just right there.
Can we just insert that digitally?
I think that would be great. Well, it's crazy. Like in
Gorman, no.
In Dawn of Justice, it's like Metropolis and Gotham City are 3 miles apart.
Yeah, there's a river between them. That's it.
And nobody's ever taken it that literally before.
I think it was a little much in my opinion.
I do too. Yeah, I think that's.
Now, what a great idea for a cameo here. I wish they would have had him with the mask for a little bit, but oh well.
Yeah, but
Bane has no authority here. This is merely a sentencing hearing. Now, choice is yours.
It wouldn't be a Christopher Nolan movie without Cillian Murphy, so.
Yeah. Who was also fantastic in Dunkirk.
So,
I will give you the location of Captain Jack Harkness.
You try to swim. You're dead in minutes.
So no one made it.
Good luck. People are getting real bored watching people just try to cross icy rivers.
Baron Gorman confirmed to be the Penguin in this universe.
Yeah, of course. That actually turned him into Mr. Freeze. Yes. You didn't get the memo, but I heard this from one of my sources.
There were every one of those. One of them turned into Mr. Freeze. One of them turned into Captain Cold. One of them was Icicle.
Killer Frost.
Killer Frost. Yeah. One of them was Mr. Zero as well.
Totally separate.
So
Wait, Foley! Uh-oh.
Who's got the Foley? Who's got the Foley?
You were supposed to be the leader of Goof Troop. Me too. Hashtag me too, Gordon.
You let your wife, who's 20 years younger than you, come to the door, Modine?
Nobody's that lucky, Modine, especially you.
That's the movie I want to see. Young Gordon and Modine.
Yep. At odds. I think that Oldman, they made an attempt to make him look and have him act as if he were older, in this movie. But there's the time jump.
I love the part of his hair.
Yep.
It parts in the middle.
Plus, he's got a big white splotch through the middle.
Only gets fixed from inside the city.
When Oldman gets excited, good things happen in terms of acting. Just watch the second Planet of the Apes remake film.
Oh, well. So good. When that iPad comes back on and he sees the picture of his kids.
God.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, man.
I sure hope he gets that Academy Award this year.
He deserves it.
Yeah, well, he's won a bunch of the other ones. The only thing that could slow him down now is a harassment scandal.
Yeah, I was about to say, as soon as he wins it, there'll be 10 different people come out with allegations against him. I mean, it's a given at this point.
What do you think about the Stan Lee allegations?
I don't know.
I'm
not even gonna get it.
Who's surprised?
All I know is I'm concerned that Catwoman is using her skills to steal apples. Here you go, kid. But first, let me take a nasty bite out of this apple right here.
Now that kid's gonna have VD.
What?
He turns around and he shoots her right in the face. That's for betraying me. And then he takes the gun to kill Bane.
There's lots of ambiguity in the movie about where he was and how he got back and how this and that worked. But there's something to be said in the movie about the kind of legend of Batman.
Yeah.
And there's a mystique to Batman, and I don't know, has Nolan ever answered people's questions directly about this? Or does he
I don't think so, no.
I
don't think he cares.
I don't think he cares.
Which is
He's
great.
not like Ryan Johnson, who's vigorously defending his product. I don't think Nolan. I think he could care less.
Yeah. To be fair, the fan response to this wasn't nearly as mixed.
Right.
But
mostly people like this, but I don't know, man. I think back and people There was a huge contingent of people online that really hated this movie, which was a shame, but it still wasn't quite as mixed as The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's been as divisive as The Last Jedi.
Oh, well, certainly not as...
well, we didn't even agree on it. So.
Yeah. Certainly not as visceral. I mean, people are just so up in arms about it.
Star Wars, people.
It just Star Wars.
Upset.
It just instills so much emotion in people that it's hard for them not to let it, run away with them. So.
See, Gary Oldman's dressed as Doctor Who here, scarf and everything. That's right. Any man with a scarf and a long coat, I'm just gonna say he's Doctor Who. I don't have any problem with that. I think in the DC Extended Universe, you kind of have, in the Batman world, Batman is the hero and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But in the Nolan movies, from Batman Begins onward, there has always been a network of people helping Batman.
Yeah.
So I think it's totally, I think it's right on point to have this, whole group of, ancillary characters that is supporting Batman.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's the old cop back there. I never noticed him.
Not until this very time.
That is a great callback to earlier in the movie. Yep, looks like the old cop. Looks that way. I like how Bane's just kind of sat around during the trials.
He begged Jonathan Crane to put on the Scarecrow mask.
Yeah,
just for theatrics.
Wouldn't do it.
He also told him to run around and do the blah 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 noise from the Scooby-Doo crossover from the 70s.
That's right.
That the Joker made. But he
extra points for you if you know what we're talking about. All two people.
He refused.
Blah, blah, blah.
Speaking of which, if you want to see another cool Batman movie, go out and buy.
It's a lot better than Dark Knight Rises, let me tell you. I kid. It is not. But it is great fun.
Yeah, it's Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold. It's terrific. Great Batman mystery adventure.
Look at Bale's crazy shock of hair here.
Yeah.
Hey, superhero costumes.
Bale looks like Gary Cole here.
Yeah, he does.
Looks just like Gary Cole.
Gary Cole's
in Pineapple Express.
Eldest son. There he is, Christian Bale.
Like your girlfriend, Mr. Wayne.
Oh yes. Hashtag me too.
Oh,
he's betrayed the movement.
Morgan Freeman's gonna.
He's coming.
Gotta
man.
be hashtag me too. So hard.
He is coming.
So soon.
He'll be the next Cosby.
Yep.
And 20 years ago, that would have been a compliment.
Yes.
Actually, 10 years ago, it might have been a compliment.
It would have been less of an insult, at least.
Now over here, Mr. Wayne, I have a gold-plated armored batsuit. Mattel has paid me 6 figures to give this to you.
They said there was something called Shadow Tech inside.
A bat Shadow Tech.
I still don't know what they mean.
I was wanting to make references to that earlier. I thought, nope, we went there.
GXP Shadow Tech. He picks it up and it's just a flask.
You see, I don't know. People are very dissatisfied about how Bruce Wayne got back here and everything. But there's such a tremendous amount of setup and kind of, things going on here to explain how he returns as Batman that I think that it's almost petty in a way to be so worried about his journey back to the city.
Yeah, well,
which he could have accomplished in any number of ways.
What are the specifics of him getting back in Batman Begins? Even
there really isn't.
Exactly. So it's people just picking their battles poorly.
Isn't it always possible that he just got a hold of Alfred and just like in Begins, he was able to get him to land, and take him back? And we don't know that he didn't do that.
Yeah. Here's Teal'c from Stargate.
Yeah. It is him, isn't it?
Yep. Christopher Judge.
Put him in the trash.
just like Mr. Daggett.
They found him in the garbage, I hear.
They did do Gordon the good service of letting him go out at nighttime when it was colder. Flash was more likely to be frozen.
That's true. this
Seems like he
was
could have been using those more frequently.
if this was Batfleck, he just would have been mowing them down.
Yes. I kill her. I kill her. And Tommy Wiseau as KG Beast.
This Batman, you know, had some time on his hands, got some stuff done that day. Modine, it's time for you to get with it, man.
He's
Modine
back.
is ashamed of himself.
Impossible.
Yes.
Implausible, too.
Very close. He'll come for her.
Where does she get those wonderful toys? Like fire.
He's held up at City Hall.
Fire. I never thought of using it.
This blocks the remote detonator signal to the bomb. Get it onto it before sunrise. It might hit the button when it starts. When what starts? War.
So like this is such a good subtle Batman voice. You know. I
Oh
don't-
yeah, he really refined it for this movie.
And I think it just like many things, because it was so extreme in the last film, his voice in this just gets thrown in the bus too. Although later in the movie, there's an incredible scene where it's like the most extreme he ever did. So
Yeah, that's true. Batman and Robin team up going on here, sort of.
Blake Man and Batman team up.
He's using the Nolan bat food to the fullest in this scene.
Teeth gone.
Thanks, kid.
You should have CG'd some teeth flying to the Again, that's
The
what they would've
technology
done with
wasn't
Batfleck. Batfleck would have been snapping necks and breaking jaws.
Woo!
Hey, no offense, but you got something bigger in that belt.
No offense, that was really stupid and dumb.
There you go, stupid.
Oh, I haven't changed my clothes in a month.
I'll have assault on Bane. But you need to get people across the bridge.
Maybe it was really just a week, and it just so happened that it snowed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it really wasn't that long of an amount of time.
Yeah. The only thing that I think is missing is the Batman doesn't show up on a horse to like rally them.
That would have been great, actually. Tonight we are the law. Probably would have done a better job delivering it than Peter Weller. In that one part. Weller was great.
I am the law.
That one little line.
Well, that was so important.
It was very important.
But the cannons have enough firepower to make a path for people. Wait until the fighting begins.
You'll wage a war to save your stuck-up girlfriend?
Start it in front.
I got it.
We have 45 minutes to save this city.
No, I've got 45 minutes to get clear of the blast radius, because you don't stand a chance against these guys.
With your help, I might.
I'll open that tunnel, then I'm gone.
There's more to you than that.
Catwoman.
Catwoman.
Don't be like that.
Sorry to keep letting you down.
Anne Hathaway. The only true Catwoman is Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, or Eartha Kitt. And how come Batman doesn't dance?
These people anymore. You've given them everything.
Not everything. Not yet.
Let's touch on something for a minute. We were sure Batman was going to die in the movie.
Yeah.
And not only that,
I've been saying it for like months.
We were all for it. We were like,
yeah,
we were huge into the idea. We were like, yeah, that's so.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do.
That's super brave of them. You know, like nobody would ever suspect it. And then I think we were at your folks' place one time, and your mom was talking about how it was a terrible idea if he died because she overheard us talking about it or something. She was like, "Oh, I think if you had seen that when you were a kid, that you would have hated that. That would be terrible."
She's probably right.
Yeah, it's true.
I think sometimes as adults we don't really think about.
It's easy, to get carried away and sort of what you can appreciate as an adult.
Modine's in full dress gear here. He's come back to lead Goof Troop.
Yes.
In one final assault. There were some real unprecedented numbers that hadn't been filmed for years in a major film like this. I remember there was a story from the set where Nolan said that he came on the set and he saw how many people were there and he was like, oh no. He's like, this isn't enough. And it turned out that the other half was waiting somewhere else, so he was just seeing half of them. There was a wealth of set photos when all of this was being filmed because it was sort of unavoidable.
Yeah.
There was one guy who died during the filming of all this stuff, but it was totally unrelated. He just happened to have a heart attack between scenes.
Yeah.
So that was very sad, but it's really a miracle nobody actually got like hurt or killed just in the actual filming of it.
And the stunt work and everything. Did somebody else die during the production of The Dark Knight? As perhaps a stunt. Maybe I'm thinking of something else from around the same time, but seems
Not
like
sure.
it.
Just these like overhead shots are just insane.
Mm-hmm. Love that stuff.
There doesn't even have to be a lot of actual contact going on for those kinds of scenes to be like, you can just have those guys like running in the background. It just kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
There's something powerful about, that kind of number just being on screen at once.
Yeah.
Oh-ho! Some great combat coming up.
I really like this look for Bane too, with the long sleeve shirt and the vest. I think it's a really cool visual.
It would have been stupid in the snow to have went the other way.
Yeah.
So.
The energy of this is so great.
I love it.
And there's a good symbolic thing going on where, there were a lot of complaints. People, say there's no real transformative experience for Batman. He doesn't train, he doesn't learn anything new, but he goes and he gets the
people
baptism.
Really say that?
Yeah.
Because that seems ridiculous to me.
He gets the baptism through fire that Bane got when he was younger by going to the prison, and Bane has been living kind of like fat and taking it easy in Gotham this whole time. So.
You too. Hey, you, and you, come in.
And you. Get the girls and the little kids. They're all going to help me fight the soldiers.
Yes, well, if you're a Jack Kirby fan, these guys are the Christopher Nolan boy commandos.
There you go. They're Nolan commandos.
Batman's back! He just starts screaming right here. It's Batman! The security guard from Batman Forever is running up and down. It's Batman!
Man, there's so much, just looking at the background on this stuff, there is literally so much going on.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a Rick McCallum moment here and start talking about how every frame is so tense. But it is, but not with effects, with real people, real performers everywhere. And it's a very powerful thing.
It's so true. And not just CG, not just green screen layered on top of each other.
The part we didn't see in the prison was all these kung fu masters come out and teach Batman how to fight Bane.
Yeah, these new techniques.
I remember on the behind the scenes stuff, they were saying something about how with one punch they end up in a different location, it transitions. I can't remember where it was at, but apparently at some point they go to a whole nother city to continue their fight.
Different building.
Yeah, which is quite a thing when you think about it. Whoa.
It is funny, a lot of those pillars are just foam inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they would be, because they would be exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah, not entirely,
Well, not in older structures a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But, newer buildings, I would guess.
Yeah, if you go to Kmart, the pillars outside are just foam.
Kmart pillars were not made with the same rigorous standards.
Here it is.
Oh, okay, there we go. Where is that trigger? Used to great extent in yoga hosers.
Yes.
Yoga hosers did a great job riffing. Where's the trigger?
Tell me where the trigger is. You have my permission to die.
Oh.
You ever think about how funny it would be if Bale's real nose was shaped like that? Just a thought.
It's just a thing.
Now you're going to be thinking about it the next time
I
you
am.
see it.
I'm going to be thinking about it. It kind of is.
Yeah, a little bit.
You think you're the only one who could learn the strength to escape? Where's the trigger? The night that for escape. The child. Child of Ra's al Ghul made the climb.
But he's not the child of Ra's al Ghul. I am.
His freak out is too much.
Although I'm not ordinary. I'm a citizen.
You sure about that? I'm not even certain you're a citizen of the United States.
That's in question. Heard she's one of the dreamers. He's got a tank! Batman, you should have seen it coming. Why?
Haven't you read the comics, Batman?
Been killed if not for my protector. Bane.
There's some terrific music here, by the way.
It's the closest you get to seeing Bane's face.
That's right. Of course, I guess he was pretty disfigured and messed up after that, so. I wonder if this kid turned out to be anybody nowadays, or if they do anything, or if it was just like maybe a child model or something, or something like that.
Probably been in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Everybody's on Game of Thrones sometimes.
Yes.
With CIA.
Yeah. This guy's probably been in Game of Thrones. And young Ra's al Ghul here. I love this costume.
Yeah. They did a great job casting like a young Liam Neeson.
Mm-hmm. I also like that it's sort of ambiguously timed. Like that could have been a very long time ago. Maybe there is a Lazarus pit.
Right.
That they've all used or something.
Do you think there might be an implication that Bane maybe doesn't have a nose, perhaps?
Yeah, I've not thought about that.
Because on the bandage back there's a big like splotch of blood right over where his nose would be.
Yeah.
You know, it would also explain why he kind of has, you know, the kind of congested sort of, kind of like he's a nasal. I don't know. There's something to it.
That's a very good possibility. You know, the Bane Ra's al Ghul relationship has precedence in the comic books. There's a storyline, Heir Apparent, where Ra's al Ghul approaches Bane about being his heir instead of Bruce Wayne, who keeps constantly refusing it. So you know that's a.
Innocent is a strong word to throw around.
That was a good touch, I thought. So it's not, you know, out of nowhere.
By finishing his work.
Right. Like you said earlier, I love how Gordon like actually gets in on the action, which you know they've done such a good job in all the other Nolan films, especially Begins.
Yeah. Maybe now we can see J.K. Simmons Gordon get in shape and wear a big robot suit. Flashpoint or something. We'll see Ben McKenzie do that in Gotham before the show's over.
Right.
Like when they really hit rock bottom and have to make the last ratings grab will be robot suit Gordon.
It's coming. They would do anything for a ratings grab in Gotham.
Oh yeah,
I believe that. Gordon, you saved the day.
The trip isn't over tonight.
Batman let her monologue. That was her undoing.
Yep.
To buy time.
He mumbled something about he wouldn't kill her, but he wouldn't have to save her.
Something like that, which seemed legitimate to all Batman fans. But everybody got really mad when Superman cracked Zod's neck. So.
Yeah.
I have an army of children. They will fight you.
You will be killing children. Oh, God.
We're bad people, they say. This guy here,
he is feeling it so
maybe
hard.
The epitome of Goof Troop. This is Goof Troop's last stand right here, because Modine is killed to death at this point. This is Modine, is like the legacy lives on.
This is Modine's half son.
his half son.
Yes. Somehow, don't ask me how.
I didn't. Can you feel the love tonight? Modine, get a bigger gun! For the love of all that's good.
The only thing missing is Modine getting in one of the tumblers.
Whoa!
What's going on?
I always thought this death seemed a little weird myself. Seemed like maybe should have just seen him getting shot.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's European.
I suppose.
It's tasteful, okay. Nolan would no sooner show Matthew Modine getting mowed down than he would show a woman's naked rear. Okay.
There you go.
About the whole no guns thing. I'm not sure I feel as strongly about it as you do.
Ooh, cheeky.
Neither does Ben Affleck, babe.
Yes. I believe you.
Oh, God. About to do some big stuff. Don't worry, when Batman blows all these people up to death.
He's about to shoot several of these
people. You know, Batman doesn't have... He has a huge problem with guns, but not with, like, ballistic missiles and bombs.
And machine guns mounted to vehicles.
Machine guns, it's all fine. As long as he doesn't... pulling the trigger of an actual handgun, he's fine.
He says a little prayer when he does it, too, so it's all
yeah.
good. He's covered spiritually.
Whoa!
Nothing like a little air superiority.
This is a great crescendo. All these action elements sort of coming to a head right at this moment. It makes for some great kinetic energy.
You know, Nolan's really good for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, just look at the finale of Inception.
Mm-hmm.
Or The Dark Knight. Or
That's
Begins,
right.
or whatever.
Interstellar.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
In a different sort of way.
Yeah. Make him stay, Murph. Oh.
The emotional crescendo.
Yes.
They're pushing it to the entrance of the reactor. They're gonna try to reconnect the core.
You blew it up.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
I would say that is the point of reference.
Yeah, it's the inspiration for sure.
It's okay, Batman. Use your guns and bombs. No, it's really funny. There's so much about this that is real that they actually filmed in camera.
Mm-hmm.
That I just believe that all of this really happened. They just filmed.
Yeah. Well, it's even the bat. I mean, you know, if you were watching the special features, they said that like if they could have just built a machine to do that,
right,
they would have.
They just would have.
But it still looks terrific.
Oh, it does.
The compositing's
great. But you see, there's so much here that is real.
Mm-hmm.
That just like a couple of things that isn't.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they expand an explosion, or you know, or add the bat in. There's so much there, it grounds it. Which is, Nolan has said in special features stuff before that that's like his whole deal. That if there's a digital effect, he wants like, you know, part A and B to be totally
10%
real.
10% of the shot.
Guy's being a negative Nancy back there.
He's not listening to Robin very well.
Nope.
Where are the other Teen Titans?
Beast Boy's going to come in later. I think Cyborg will say booyah at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I think. Justice League spoiler. I love their idea to sort of repurpose the Bat Pod and kind of have it be the Catwoman vehicle.
Yeah. Well, the Bat Pod's another brilliant design, so.
Yeah. I feel like the Bat doesn't quite get enough love, you know?
Mm-mm.
Like, that's kind of something, like, everybody knows the Bat Pod, the Tumbler, but, you know, the Bat really doesn't get as much play for whatever reason.
Just limited screen time, I suppose. Although, I mean, it's
Right.
one of those things. It has more screen time than the Batwing and Batman '89. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true.
So, Hot Toys, did they ever get that vehicle released?
Yeah, but it isn't an actual true like 1/6 scale.
Yeah, it's got like
It's
a
in,
6-inch.
It's in 1/12 scale.
Yeah,
because it would have been too cost prohibitive the other one. I guess it would have
there
been
was
like
not enough plastic
$3,000 or
available,
$4,000 the other way.
Yeah, there's not enough plastic available on Earth to manufacture.
I do believe it did come out though.
It seems like I never saw a review, but let's look that up. I'm getting too old for this stuff.
How did I survive? Hey!
we can get a cable on it. Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, well.
Those showed me how to operate the reactor.
Oh my.
We were sure. We were taking bets like somebody's gonna die. We were like, Lucius is gonna die, Gordon's gonna die, Alfred's gonna die. And it turns out nobody really dies,
did.
except for the bad guys.
And that's good.
Yeah.
I thought for sure this was Lucius's death here, actually. But amazingly, he's able to.
He has a last minute call that goes out to Jim Gordon that says, "Don't let my wife find my phone."
He actually had a mistress waiting for him at the top of the ladder. That's the only thing that gave him the energy.
Yes.
Protection from the blast. We're gonna be all right. Double time, go. An atom bomb.
This guy needs to come. What does he think? He needs to let him give hope to the kids. Okay, here we go. Even Batman's looking at her like, "Come on."
Don't waste time watching her die. Just deal with the bomb.
Ooh.
What was that?
I don't know now. I don't know. It's quite an interpretation. Now this whole scene I love.
Not anywhere good anything. But you came back here.
So did you.
I guess we're both suckers.
That gave me the biggest thrill, that whole dialogue kind of exchange. Thought it was great.
No, the hero who saved them. Hero can be anyone, even a man doing something as simple and reassuring as putting a coat around a young boy's shoulders to let him know the world hadn't ended.
I always sort of think how funny it would be if Gordon just could not remember doing that.
Brandon, that was the most significant murder case in Gotham's history. Okay,
Yeah.
He's gonna remember. He's gonna remember. Once again, we tie it back in, and Nolan uses a surprising amount of like clips from the other movies in this one, which proves it can be done like really tastefully. It doesn't have to just be like a cornball kind
He
of
just
effect.
clips the bomb on the overpass.
You know, to this day, every time I watch this movie, I'm afraid he's going to do that.
Me too.
I don't know why. Just like right before you said that, all I could think of was, oh gosh, he's going to clip it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny to say that there's a couple of shots back there where the bomb looks a lot less real than like the bat does.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, you know, it's a shiny like sphere. It's hard to make something like that look real and not so digital. That was a great fake out moment, I thought.
Great delivery by Levitt.
Yes.
He drops it onto the bus. It's the best I can do, I'm sorry.
Now, I really like this because it kind of reinforces the idea that, like, you know, Batman is, you know, a hero to children.
Yeah.
Then there's all the debate about this scene.
Here's the religious moment.
He does have a religious moment where he transfers the power of Batman
Yes.
to Blake. There's all these debates about the logistics of him being able to get away and everything. And Nolan did actually have to clarify on this one, or Jonah maybe had to, where he was like, you have to understand that the editing of showing the timer in relation to Batman may not be...
Yeah.
Like, he may have already gone at that point.
He may have already jettisoned, you know, well before. Well, because you don't see, like, there's no, like, distant shot of the exterior of the Bat where you see him inside. The shot of him in the cockpit could be the dislodged cockpit.
Oh, that's right.
Like outside of the vehicle itself.
And a brilliant pupil rising from this abyss. And I see the lives for which I lay down.
They're just ceremoniously executing all of them.
Oh gosh.
Like, we ain't got enough jail space for trials. Line up, all of you.
I see that I hold a sanctuary in their hearts.
Great tribute to Dirty Harry.
That's right. Dirty Harry moment back there.
Which is homaged pretty heavily in The Dark Knight as well.
Yeah. That's right, kids. Let's all have our hearts broken by Alfred. Just want to remind everyone at home this is a Batman movie with real stakes and human emotion.
I think it's pretty clever. I mean, like, I know it's a lot of people talk about how cheap it is, and but you know, it's.
Mr. Fox, it's already been fixed. Software patch 6 months ago.
Check the ID on the patch.
Bruce Wayne. Any news on the missing item?
For all these people that are like, oh, maybe, maybe you really got killed, and it's okay. Why go to all the trouble
to show
like setting up
yeah.
the autopilot thing and like all this? Come on, guys, stop trying to look for Inception in Dark Knight Rises. It's not here.
No, exactly.
But maybe Alfred's dreaming it. Oh, come on.
Maybe Alfred died and is dead with them too.
Oh gosh, people want to be such sad sacks. I mean, seriously, that's the sad sack interpretation of Dark Knight Rises.
And we were just talking about how we were like, oh yeah, Batman should die, but like Nolan found this great way.
No,
to,
he found the
for
real
everybody to have a happy ending.
It must have been the ghost of Bruce Wayne that fixed the bat signal and everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be somebody in the comments, well, here's what the real deal... No, don't even bother.
Just be happy.
Enjoy it.
So what's your interpretation? Do you think Blake is just going to be a lot of people are just like so quick, they're like, oh, he's just going to be Nightwing, and it's like,
no,
I don't think that's
be
Batman.
The idea is that it's going to be like, okay, well, Batman just continues, and the people would never know it, you know, if it was somebody else or not.
Some awesome hair.
Looking slick right there. Looking tan. And people try to analyze the logistics of that, too. Like, how did he know which little restaurant to be at and what time? Oh, come on. Let it go. And, of course, the actual reveal of the literal title of the film, which turns out is a literal thing, The Dark Knight Rises. Because at the end, Blake rises to become Batman, to become the Dark Knight.
Also, I mean, the other element of Blake's character that we didn't point out is he's a little bit like Terry McGinnis, too.
Yeah, he is. He is a conglomeration of every character that has took on like the mantle of Batman as a replacement. I think that he's a big success in that regard.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the movie is a big success. I think Dark Knight Rises is terrific. It's one of those things, you know, people perceive The Dark Knight Rises, and you're going to see this all over the internet if you haven't really, if this is kind of one of your first experiences with the movie. Let's hope it's not the first. But you're going to see that Dark Knight Rises is sort of like perceived as this kind of like misfire.
This bust, you know.
And it is not. That's far, far, far from the truth. It was received very warmly by most professional critics. Most of the Nolan Batman fan base really appreciated the movie and received it well. Not a disaster, not a misstep.
Very successful financially.
And let me tell you the easy thing to have done for Nolan would have been to have left it at The Dark Knight. That would have been easy. And that would have been... I remember at the time thinking that's actually what they were going to do. It would just be a 2-part deal.
Or there would be a sequel that somebody else would direct.
Right. But no, he took the harder way. He decided to attempt to follow up at that time what was considered to be the most successful superhero film of all time, critically. And I think he did an admirable job following it up.
Modine. Well, yeah, I mean...
And you've got people who will never, ever let go of this idea that, you know, the Heath Ledger Joker being, you know, the most legendary thing in the world to them. Which I agree that it's spectacular.
Oh, yeah, that can't be denied.
I think people are blinded by it just a little bit because they can't like look at the Tom Hardy Bane performance objectively. All they want to do is just compare it to this other movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to Tom Hardy. I didn't think it was fair to Aaron Eckhart, actually.
No, actually, yeah, because I think he was tremendously underrated in the performance.
And I think that it had a really negative effect on Eckhart's career, too. Because I think that if there wasn't all the mystique surrounding the Heath Ledger Joker, that I think people would have been more willing to kind of look at how impressive the Aaron Eckhart Two-Face performance was.
Well, and it's still having an impact today. You know, I mean, it caused a very polarizing interpretation of the character for Suicide Squad, of course.
It's kind of a shame that both The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises were both kind of marked by these like tragedies that occurred. I think though that there was a very big difference in the tragedies, and far be it for me to analyze the impact of serious real world circumstances affecting the movies. But I think that for The Dark Knight, and I hate to say this and I don't mean it in a mean way, I think that Heath Ledger's death had a positive effect on the box office and the buzz surrounding the movie.
Oh, it did, yeah.
And that's a horrible thing to acknowledge, but I think it's true. I think the death of Heath Ledger added to the hype for the movie, which is an insane thing to think about. I mean, I was on pins and needles for the movie. That actually just kind of hurt my feelings, you know, when I found out about that. It really just devastated me.
We'll never know what other performances he had, to give.
But to a morbid kind of, death-focused culture, I mean, it was looking for the next James Dean or whatever. I think that they were really quick to jump on that. So that was sad. But I think it helped the movie. But then the tragedy in Aurora for The Dark Knight Strikes Again hurt the movie. And I think, kind of put, a mark on the movie itself. So, I don't know. There's these weird real-life circumstances that surrounded these movies that the DC Extended Universe movies haven't had to deal with. and
still haven't been as successful.
Nope, haven't been as successful. I dare them to try to make a Batman movie that can get above, like, what's this at, 78% or something on Rotten Tomatoes or something that Rises sets at.
Oh yeah, it's around 80. I think it was more like 81 or something. As I remember seeing.
I think you're right.
Point,
I can't even remember.
I mean, The Dark Knight is in the mid 90s, and the other two films are in the 80s.
I mean, good luck to him.
Yeah.
But Nolan definitely.
Or to make one that's gonna gross more than $1 billion.
Well, yeah.
Because I don't think it's gonna happen. And and the thing about it is, Begins. You think back, didn't make. I mean, Begins made $350 million worldwide.
It was a very modest success.
Yeah, it was just successful enough to make a sequel. I mean, thank God.
Right.
But Spider-Man 2002, it was not.
No.
And I can't recall talking to anybody that actually saw it.
Nope.
At the time,
I knew one other person that saw it, and they were a teenager. So
yeah.
But in terms of hearing a lot of other people seeing it, it just wasn't a big thing. I remember people really didn't know what I was talking about when I was talking about the movie
until The Dark Knight was about to come out, and everybody in the world loved Batman Begins more than anything.
Oh yeah. Then it was their favorite movie.
And remembered seeing it in the theater 2 or 3 times.
I remember just eye rolling pretty hard at all these people that came forward, and suddenly they were the biggest fans of the Nolan Batman movies.
Mm-hmm.
No, not that I remember.
Yeah, I remember seeing. We saw it on opening night.
That's right.
When it was released, and I think there were about 20 people in the theater.
Oh, it wasn't. It was not a big thing. And then for The Dark Knight, you couldn't get in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Genuinely, we went.
Yeah, we could not get
in. We had been told that our local theater was not going to pre-sell tickets, and then I apparently decided to, and they had sold out by the time we got to the theater and had to go to the next town over.
Which was a good thing because it was a better experience than the next town, but still. They have to credit the Star Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key, huh? I mean. Is that just like a courtesy to put that at the end? I mean, really?
I assume it has to be genuinely licensed.
Wow. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. It's hard to believe. I just think it's a shame that this movie is as underrated as it is. I think people got so hung up. This was one of the first really big movies for people became obsessed with the notion of plot holes.
Yeah.
And became very confused about what plot holes even were. Because people totally misunderstood what a plot hole was thanks to people's misinterpretation of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden...
And Prometheus came out the same summer and
that's
suffered
right.
the same problem.
Same problem. All of a sudden, thanks to internet culture, people decided a plot hole was anything the movie didn't tell them that they wanted to know.
Well, and even right now, The Last Jedi is suffering from some of the same problems.
Yep. Anything that they just don't know?
People didn't like decision making, and there's decision making I didn't like, but a lot of people are quick to say, "Oh, look at this plot holes and stuff," and it's not really the same thing.
Nope, it's not the same thing. It's you can't say that a plot hole is something that like the director or the story. You can't say it's something that you're just not told because that's an artistic decision to not tell you things. But, Nolan was working on a higher caliber than any person doing this type of movie. So, it is what it is. But I think looking back at this movie, it's truly, I think, one of the last artistic visions for a superhero film.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was one of the very last ones.
Yeah. And it's I don't want that to be a broad sweeping over criticism of things like the Marvel Studios movies, which I do like a lot, but there's an artistry to them that's more visual.
You're right.
And less and I'm not saying there's nothing going on under the hood, but
there's plenty going on, but it's not this.
No, of course not.
It's not like some impassioned filmmaker has this vision and they pour their heart and soul into it, and it's like this brand new interpretation of the hero.
And they're given time to do it. I think that's the big. The craft. There's a craft to this, and you see it, and Nolan was given as much time as he wanted, in between films.
He was pretty well given an extra entire year just to develop it. than most filmmakers would have had between sequels.
Yeah.
And I think Warner Brothers definitely treated them the right way, which Warner Brothers is a filmmaker, friendly studio, and historically.
We'll see for how much longer.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think, if you could say that there is one lesson that this movie teaches that should be followed by the DC Extended Universe executives and all those people working at WB right now, and they're failing so hard. They've had the most miserable, 4 years or so, 3 or 4 years that you can imagine. Things have just not went well. And what do you think the takeaway from this movie? What do you think the takeaway is? What could they learn?
Substance over style.
Substance over style.
I mean, and that seems like such a simple, pat answer to give. But I mean, I think it's true that it's they pull a pretty staunch 180 from a very story driven filmmaker to a very visual driven filmmaker. For their franchises. And, and again, like, it's not... Nolan is a capable visual storyteller, of course, and Nolan's a capable story teller.
Snyder's a capable...
Yeah, what did I say?
Nolan.
Snyder's very capable of telling a story consistently. Just look at Watchmen. But there's some lack of balance in there, and I think Suicide Squad is probably the worst case of the look running away with the movie rather than taking their time to elaborate on the characters adequately. I don't know. It just seems like they're so. I personally would have thought something like Justice League could have been much more successful. I think it gave people, what I would have thought they were looking for in terms of broad box office appeal. So that something like that wasn't very successful. I don't know that there's a good simple answer to that, to be completely honest. But I mean, I would say try harder to work on the ground up concepts, and maybe get some of these things going fresh again, and then they can worry about some of the more fantastic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
What about you? What do you think?
Well, for me personally, I believe that the lesson that Rises teaches me, that I think that they would be wise to take in, would be that they probably need to be betting. They need to be betting on their casting. They need to be betting on their actors, and they need to be betting on the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, with these new movies, they're not necessarily doing that. There's a couple of things when looking at the Rises for this viewing that really stood out to me. Is the meat of the movie is not necessarily a big visual spectacle, like we've talked about. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But it's not like a computer spectacle.
No.
But
even the colors are muted, Well,
that's right. But the thing is, you have to look at the big moments of the movie, the linchpins of the movie, are Nolan betting everything he's got, Jonathan Nolan betting everything he's got on the ability of the actors to carry the characters and make you feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And again and again, I think the thing that we pointed out and kind of shoved in the face of DC Extended Universe again and again throughout the movie was all those really intense acting moments.
Mm-hmm.
And where we were just like, okay, now this is something you'll never see in DC Extended Universe. And that kind of stuff just isn't as well done in the new movies. I think that they're busy trying to be like Marvel, and it's a good thing to be like Marvel. But in a lot of ways, I don't think that serves the DC characters as well. I think that you have to be looking for a depth of emotion and get away from just being obsessed with being dark and gritty and visual about everything. But if the emotions don't work and the characters don't work, then the whole thing falls apart. Now, that seems like a generic piece of advice to give, but I mean,
yeah,
they're just not. They've
got to start somewhere.
They're betting on muscles. They're betting on big muscles more than they are likable personalities and people you care about. The other big thing that I get, the big takeaway from Dark Knight Rises, is planning. I feel like Dark Knight Rises was meticulously boarded and planned and executed in exactly the way that it feels like a master has sketched out a painting and has then completed the painting exactly as he intended. And I feel like there is no DC Extended Universe movie that has that level of planning and execution. Everything seems kind of just ramshackle and thrown together
at the last minute.
And there isn't anything that's like figured out, whereas Dark Knight Rises seemed like an exercise, despite what your feelings may be about the lack of explanation about this or that, it seemed like an exercise in precision.
Well, I mean, and that's a quantifiable fact with the Extended Universe films, and every one of them, even Wonder Woman to a smaller extent, was somehow retooled or reconfigured, prior to release.
Right.
Some of them were practically completely reshot. Suicide Squad and Justice League both.
I think they're playing with fire because they keep rushing in, and with their pants down. They're not ready and they can't.
Well, they're waiting for the quick fix. They see every film as their next opportunity to turn it around on a dime, and that's obviously not going to happen.
Well, they blew it with Justice League in terms of getting the general audience in there. Me and you love Justice League, but it didn't work for everybody. So.
No.
And Justice League isn't a Dark Knight Rises. It's not even close. We just thought it was a lot of fun and it was well done.
Justice League, I'm trying to think of a good comparison here, but I'm thinking of something. I'm having a hard time thinking of something that wouldn't be too insulting. But Justice League is not a lot of things, but it obviously is not what was in their best interest. But I just don't know. It seems like an impossible battle now to try and
a never-ending battle, you might say.
Yeah, to get things back on track with their current status quo.
That's right.
I mean, there's been talk about there being an extended focus on Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Wonder Woman was obviously very successful, and Aquaman's their next film to their next solo outing, and so that could potentially be very successful, and they may want to capitalize on that. The God's honest truth is that they may just not be destined to need to do a big shared universe film series. They've been super successful doing it previously in animation, and now with live action TV across many years and different networks and things like that. But maybe they just need to get back to experimenting. And again, there's rumors consistently about, well, maybe Batman will be outside this film universe, and maybe there'll be some weird Joker movie that Scorsese's going to produce. And then they've got their one-off little things like Lego Batman, and we've got Teen Titans Go coming out this year. So, maybe there needs to be some more thought put into that. Something like Shazam has a lot of potential to be very successful, and something like that could exist. Practically. DC has all these big concepts. Something like Shazam, something like Green Lantern Corps, something like we were discussing a concept like Swamp Thing even earlier. New Gods. They have all these things that don't even need to be in a shared universe. There's so much to expand on just with these core group of characters. Maybe they should get back to attempting those things.
I personally believe that the people in charge just don't know how to do a good job at it. So.
Yeah. Well, because obviously it can be done.
Obviously, yeah, because everybody else, if the animation and the TV are doing it, then why can't they? But they're just not very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
again, it's planning. It's like you said. It's
in the end, it all comes down to one thing, and that's that Nolan was really, really, really good at making movies.
Yeah,
and he still is. Mm-hmm. And he happened to make these three incredible, and that's all right. I said three, not just two.
Yeah,
not just one. Three incredible Batman movies. Mm-hmm. And Nolan was a strong personality. He knew exactly what he wanted. He was decisive, and nobody at Warner Brothers right now is being decisive. Mm-hmm. And the people who are being decisive are idiots.
Yeah.
So like the Sujiharas and all those people, they're morons. So right now, what they need is someone with clear vision, and they begged Nolan to stay, and they begged him to do this and that with the universe. He wouldn't. I'm not even sure Nolan would be the guy to do like all these other superhero movies.
I don't think he would be. Is the thing.
But they've got to find the right people, the right fit, and it's really hard to do. So I wish him luck. But to me, this whole experience was a look back at a time when the Nolan trilogy elevated the superhero movie to a level of kind of art, and that's over. I don't know if it can ever be done again. I don't know if it can ever be the way it was again. But I do know this, that we should really enjoy the Batman Nolan trilogy and go back, and if you haven't watched them in a while, be sure to give it another try.
If you've never watched them all three consecutively, that's a great watch. I actually saw the theatrical release where they released leading up to the Midnight Rises. I saw them all three in the theater, and that was spectacular. It may be the best we're ever going to get for DC films. Is the God's honest truth. So if you're a fan, maybe it's time to go back and
Richard Donner Superman 1 and 2. Make sure you're watching the Donner cut of Superman 2. Of course.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all at once. It is terrific to go back and watch something that I liked so much, but it's also a little melancholy because it's like, it's come back, please, just come back.
That's right. But we hope you all have enjoyed our little commentary track that we've done for The Dark Knight Rises.
Little 3-hour
commentary track.
Yeah.
And I hope that you've got some enjoyment out of it. Hopefully
so. And maybe we've given you some new things to think about with the film. Or,
that's right. Mostly some things to laugh about.
Maybe. Yeah, I hope that too.
Maybe you'll remember Goop Troop.
Drop us some comments about your memories seeing the film.
Yeah,
some of your favorite things or least favorite things.
Tell us what you want us to maybe do a commentary for next or discuss next. We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. And until next time, this has been Brandon.
And this has been Jerry.
And these are Fanboys Forever. Signing out.